No, you don't need to record yet. Okay. All right. So good afternoon, everyone, once again, and welcome to our safe at home training series. You know, it has been called. I've called it that in the last session or two. Today we are here to discuss the whole idea of drive, and I'm talking about. I'm going to call it harness and drive and how to play. All right. So talking about drive and let's see if my marker not working great. All right. Try next marker.
You get a marker from Kurt or?
But
I just deal with PowerPoint, partner, because I can't write properly, so I deal with PowerPoint.
how to play? Is that visible or is it not? Or it's not visible?
Not visible.
But I come and write for you, boy, Alan.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, we see it. I see it. Once I finish.
I think I get a better marker. I think I get a better marker.
Yeah, that much better.
Yeah, that marker that.
Right. Let's see if I can bring it even closer.
Yeah, we seen it.
All right.
Right, good.
Right. So the reason why I said that is because everybody wants to play with a dog. Especially as a working dog, you want to play with your dog. And the term drive being used a lot. We're always talking about drive. We're talking about building drive. We're talking about getting drive, harnessing drive, all kind of things we talk about. But our main term that we use is always drive, because you want your dog to be driven. It's a working dog, so it should do things with drive, right? And we discussed the whole definition of drive and all that already. So I think that's a point we need not go over too much. But what I would like to really talk about is the actual part of the playing, because playing is another major part of your working dog, and you have to play with the dog. The thing about playing is that we kind of get the whole thing wrong with regards to playing, because what we end up, while playing with our dog with the toy, what we end up in is a fight. The dog is actually fighting us for the toy. And that is counterproductive to what we really want to do, right? So if we were to think about it even more, I would say that playing is really a pathway, right? Playing is a pathway, right? It's really a pathway to creating the perfect relationship with your working dog, right? So everybody still seeing okay, or it's not as visible?
Yeah, I can see the only thing is your focus kind of coming in and out, but once it coming on focus, you're seeing it.
All right.
It's when you're moving, Alan, it's focusing on you, and then the board focusing on you. And then...
Right, so okay, try not to move too much then.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, you're all seeing good, right?
Yeah, it's seeing okay then.
Yeah.
So playing is a pathway. Perfect relationship. With your dog, right? So the thing about playing is that it's something that we have to do, but we need to do it in an effective way. We need to do it in a way that will benefit us, bringing about the best product, bringing about the best result, with us as the handler, owner, and the dog actually putting out the work, because it's the dog doing the work, right? We train the dog, but the dog does the work, right? So sometimes people try to move it around the next way and think that we actually doing the work, but you're not doing the work, it's the dog. That's why it's called a working dog, right? So just let me know if you're becoming out of focus, right? The board that is, right? So the thing about it is we've been talking a lot about something called engagement, right? So that is something that we want in the obedience, engagement. Right? We want to get a lot of engagement. The thing about engagement is that it's something that the dog needs to give you. You can't force it out to the dog, right? So in the sense that you can't compel the dog to be focused on you. You could do it somewhat, but it's not ideal and it doesn't last long, because if once any decent dog realize they cannot be compelled anymore or punished anymore, then you will start to lose focus, you get no engagement, and then eventually the dog stop working for you. All right. And if the dog have a little attitude, he might give you something to have and to hold at the same time. All right. So it's something that we really want to try to avoid. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I can't, well, I think everybody can't really make out the writing. Do you happen to have a window to your left?
Well, it's not so much a window, but it's actually the marker that was working great.
I know. But just to try to make the best, given that that is the marker that you have.
Yeah. Well, the window to the left, I can't close.
You don't have curtains. You don't have curtains.
No. I will, let me try to get a better marker.
It looks great there. It's just that we can't see it on the top right.
Yeah, it's not very clear. All right, so I will try my best. I think the marker will come out better. Press very hard.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, so I press a little much harder on it. It was
maybe you other right a little bit lower down.
Yeah,
where you can reach now, you know, you kind of short on it.
Well, yeah, but at this point, I put the board up, so I knew where, you know, I worked it out. So yeah, so we've been talking a lot about about engagement, right? We've been talking a lot about engagement, and that is something that is we realize how important it is. We've been doing good work to get that level of engagement, and everybody kind of understand what true engagement means and what it does for you with the dog. As we see the engagement increasing, we see that we get more to the dog, and you know, it's just a better thing to go. But to get engagement, you know, we need to have something called the dog must be motivated. Right? The dog must be motivated. And to keep the dog motivated, they must be paid. So, in order to have motivation, the dog must be paid. Is that right and visible?
Except down to the end. Yeah.
All right.
We are going to say.
If at any point in time you're not following, or the writing is not as visible as you, it's not visible, I should say, let me know, right? I'll try to make an adjustment to that shortly. So I'll try to get some other markers to see if they work well. These are brand new and they're just not. So yeah. So that is, you understand that people think that, you know, the dog working for us is a working dog and we praise the dog and the dog must work for us and we say good boy and all of that. But is that really pay? That is not pay. I mean, I've mentioned it many times to you all that if I were your employee, or let's say you were employed by me and I pat you on your back at the end of the month, I would have big problems with you, right? That's not helping you. Praise is something that is an accomplice, right? It should go together with pay, but praise is not pay, right? So that's another thing we want to keep in mind.
That's the real marker.
The red one is the best one.
Yeah. Right? Praise is not pay. It's not payment. Right? I should say payment. Right? It's not payment. It has never been. And we've been taught to think that it's sort of a payment, but it is not. It just does not pay the dog. It does not do anything for the dog in terms of rewarding. But there's a place for praise. There's definitely a place for praise in dog training. And we're going to come to that, but I want to make sure you understand that premise that praise is not payment. So remember, we have what we're talking about here. Right? The dog must be motivated to work, right? And in order for us to get engagement, the dog should be motivated. And to motivate the dog must be paid. Praise is not payment. So let's put praise aside for now, right? Praise is not payment. What praise could be is that praise could be a marker, right? So in other words, it's something that we use to mark a particular behavior, right? And it's more of a situation where you have types of payment, right? So let's talk about types of payment, because I refer to praise as a marker more than actual payment. All right, so types of payment. We have, so I'm gonna try my black marker because I get it more into
His eyes.
You seen it? Kim, you said something?
No, I think it was Lisa.
Oh, all right. So everybody following so far, right?
Sorry.
So we have, let's see this. No, this one now. Okay. Oh, another one now. No. All right. So I feel we gotta go back to the. Just go back to the.
Use
marker.
the red.
The red.
The
The red is the
green
one. The red and
Yeah.
green. So
Just work with that. So we're gonna have.
Aaron.
yeah, Lisa.
Aaron. I'm taking down the notes just how Alan is writing it to the best that I can see it. And if you want, I can share them with everybody afterwards, just in case we're not all seeing it the same way. I don't know who's on their phone or whatever.
That would be nice, Lisa.
Sure, no problem. Thanks, Lisa.
Right, cool, yeah.
So we're talking about types of payment, right? So we know that praise is not payment. So let's talk about the payment now. Types of payment. We have food. And we have something Kurt referred to, fulfillment of natural drive. Right? We can talk about natural drive, desires, right? Everybody remember the lecture we had when we spoke about drives? So when we talk about fulfillment of drive, anybody wanna make a little comment on that?
Don't be shy now. Come on.
All right.
Like letting the dog bite down on the pillow or something.
Right, yeah, because the dog has prey drive. So allowing the dog to chase and bite, that's fulfillment of the natural drive. Right? So that's where we could start to talk about that, and we could start to use this now as what we're going to talk about with regards to playing, how to play. Because if we were to follow correctly and we talk about where we start, we talk about engagement. And when we talk about the dog has to be motivated in order to be engaged. In order to maintain motivation, the dog must be paid, right? So we go in, this is the way we go in. Right? And we go in. So the dog must be motivated and the dog must be paid. So if the dog has to remain motivated, then you have to continue paying the dog, right? Somehow. We want to make sure that everybody understands that praise is not payment, right? So then praise is more of a marker, right? So as a result now, we talk about types of payment. One is food, which we know. One of the other types of payment is fulfillment of natural drives or desire, right? So if we are to go along with that whole concept, then we understand how important playing the game is, right? So it's not just about a game per se, but we realize that we would rely on this game, right? Or whatever is taught in this game to take us through the life of our working dog and to prepare our working dog for whatever we decide we want the dog to do. All right. So as a result, we're going to talk about creating the right game. All right. So you all can see here, right?
Yep.
Right? So because of be coming from based on the fulfillment and wanting to fulfill that, we understand. So that is why we go back to the ball and we have the tug and we have a bike pillow and things like that that we allow the dog to play with, a come toy and different things that we use in our training. Right? So there's a whole process in which we want to play with the dog, and over time and people, other trainers talking to us and so on, and then in our experience in training, this is not something I took from anyone. This is things that we would have gathered over the years, and I am now putting it in the way in which I see it. For me, training evolves. So if I see somebody doing something better than me, I grab it and I go with it. It's that simple. So we may be getting the same result, but if they're doing it, if it's a way that I think it's better, or if it's a way that I think is more effective than what I am doing, that's what I would go with, right? And according to my skill set, I would adjust according to the dog or the situation, right? So there's a process in which we play with the dog. So we don't just go out in the yard and play with the dog. Well, we could do that if we want, but we are talking about preparing a working dog or preparing a dog to perform certain tasks, right? So regardless as to how far you may or may not go in dog sport or whatever type of training, security type training or personal protection training, there's a way in which you can play with the dog that brings about the best result, right? And that is what we are about. All right, so is this size of writing visible?
Yeah, it is.
Everybody?
Yeah, we see that.
Yeah, yes.
Right, okay. So one of the first things we're doing is chasing, capturing the prey, right? And we all know that's why we move the toy, right? So we have a toy, we don't just stand up with the toy there. We want to, first of all, as puppies, we want to build desire, and we're going to demonstrate that very soon, is that we keep moving the toy. Once we move the toy, the natural inclination of the dog, that's dog's prey drive, is to want to chase and go after it. So in going after it, we are already starting to fulfill the desire of the prey drive, right? So we are already starting to do something that the dog likes to do or is naturally inclined to do, right? We then talk about the desire to play versus all right, so let me write that part. Right, so we want to talk about having the desire to play versus possessiveness, right? So if a dog is continuously enjoying playing and chasing after something, right? So when we say play, we're talking about chasing right now, right? Chasing and capturing. The dog you have built that desire to do that. What you don't want is for that desire, right, to turn into ultimately possessiveness, because possessiveness would mean that the dog is really chasing to capture to keep it, right? So there is no real desire to play with us. What happens in that situation?
Chasing the capture to keep it.
From
This right on board.
yeah, next month that we can do. All right. Yeah, this one we can all right. So what you eventually get is a dog moving from chasing and capturing all the way to this. So wanting to keep it. Right? And for me, and I guess for you too, that makes no sense really, right? Because if the dog is really just chasing to capture, like if he's in the wild and then he treated it like a prey that he want to keep and bury or eat at some stage, and then that does not do much for the relationship between you and your dog in playing the game, right? It doesn't do much because the dog wants to take the ball and run off the field or take the tongue, keep it away from you. When you're calling him back, he doesn't want to come back to you because he's chased and he's captured, and because he's so possessive of it, he keeps. And in some cases, the dog may resource guard. Resource guard meaning he may actually show some avoidance first and then maybe some aggression to you because you are attempting to take away the toy, right? So that is something you don't ever want to jump from here to there. You want to maintain a proper chain where there's desire to play. You don't want to have that possessiveness, right? So let's bracket that out. You don't want to have that. Otherwise, if you have that, then the dog really just wants to keep the toy. What you want is for the dog to have create a relationship with the dog where the dog will chase. The dog does want to capture or bite, but then the dog will want to maintain a play with you, right? Tugging, wrestling, you know, that's what the dog wants to enjoy. So the concept of playing with the dog is that we want the dog to move from a position where, yes, he wants to chase the toy. Yes, he loves it. Yes, he's obsessed with it. But the true essence of it is that the dog really wants to engage you with playing with the toy. So the toy does not mean as much to him as when he's playing with you. So ideally what you want is a dog saying, hey, here's the toy, take the toy, let's play. You don't want a dog saying, hey, where's the toy? Grab the toy, go with it off the field. That's not ideal. That doesn't really help you, right? So when we do everything with regards to playing, that is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is that we want to build a relationship where the dog wants to play with us with the toy, right? So if we have to do that, then we have to talk about, if we want to get this here, if we want to get this, if we want to get a dog that is very desirable of playing with us, then we need to do several things. And Kurt spoke about it, right? We talk about the dog being comfortable and trusting us, right? So if we are to build, we have to build comfort and trust. And again, if we do too much of this is the opposite. To fighting, right? It's the opposite to fighting. We want to build comfort and trust, but we don't want the dog fighting, right? If the dog is fighting us for the toy, then he's actively working against what we want. You will get the completely opposite desire. To translate that on the field, you get a dog that is, yeah, he's on the field, but he's never going to bring back the toy because it's mine. You want to take away the toy and he loses. So he's fighting, tugging, doing all of that, chasing. And when he does finally capture the prey, he wants to keep it. He wants to keep it because, you know, you have not built that desire for the dog to play. You have not done anything with regards to that. Your game is built around him chasing, capturing, and possessing and keeping it. Because a lot of times we focus too much on the fight, right? And we don't build the fight properly. Because the fight always results in the dog losing. And if the dog losing means that you take away the toy and that's the end of the game, right? So there's no trust. There's no trust, right? The dog is not comfortable coming back to you. So now what you have to do, you have to take out another ball, which is you know, a plausible thing to do. You take out the ball and you get the dog coming back to you. It works. It does work. But is that ideally what you want? It's not ideal. Because if you have a very, very high prey-driven dog, as you continue playing that game with the dog over time, the possessiveness becomes very poisonous, where you have to use a lot of compulsion to be able to even get back the toy from the dog, right? And that is a very tiring thing. It's something that I have done in the past, and it's something that sometimes make you feel that, you know, hey, do I have the energy to train this dog tonight? Because you know every time to get back the ball is a fight, right? And then you have to use the corrections and all that stuff. You have to resort to e-collars or prom color or something like that. Not that those are not part of training. They are training tools, but in this game here, that's not where we want to go. We want to go to a different place, right? So playing with the handler and returning to the handler is what we really want. All right. There's a cycle to that game, right? There's a cycle to that game that we want to create. And we've spoken about it for a very long time, but you know, for what it's worth, we can come back and speak about it again. So the first thing would be is the chase. Then we have the catch. Then the dog must win. Right? Now there's a lot of things happening in between these different phases, right? But I'm just going to outline the phases for you. So actually, I want to make this a better point. I want to put back in the word. Because actually I was just telling you earlier how we don't want fighting in the true sense of the word, right? But what we want is, we do want the dog fighting, but we don't want the dog to feel like it is in a fight, right? Fighting must be part of the game.
Right, because I was going to ask that question.
What's the question I was going to ask?
Well, I was going to ask the question that I understand the point about the fight. You don't want the dog fighting against you, but there must be a level of fight in the game for the dog to also enjoy the game.
Yeah. So the fight that the dog shows is not a fight in the true sense of the word, because the dog is not really trying to beat you. There's no real vengeance in the fight.
Alan?
Yes?
I have a question, right?
Sure.
I know you say praise is not payment, right? And I agree with that, right? But does praise influence? You could step away from the board a little bit. I want to see the board a little bit. Does praise influence the dog desire to play with the handler?
Well, I would say conceptually, no. Praise is something we build, because a dog is not born knowing the difference between good boy and bad boy, or not. Or
when I say praise, it's not like good boy or bad boy. So like you say, dog, you play with the dog with the ball, the dog holding the ball. You straddle the dog and you stroke the dog and you let the dog feel comfortable with you, with him having the toy and being with you, but you're not taking the ball away from him. If you understand the concept.
So yes, I mean everything. The
Good
way
afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Sorry?
Good afternoon.
Right. So the way you phrase it, I want to say yes, but why I want to make it clear, and praise has its place. Don't get me wrong, praise definitely has its place. But I want you all to understand that praise is something we condition in the dog's mind. There are some dogs, and I believe Kim spoke about it, there are some dogs just don't like to be pet too much. They don't like to be touched all over their face, and we think that loving up the dog and loving up the dog.
Well, in the context of praise for that dog, that is not praise. But it have some dogs will be accepting of that, and it will make them feel more comfortable coming back to the handler with the toy. Because
touching a dog and getting a dog sensitive to touch and being comforted by it is something that we condition, and it's something that works very well in training. And it's something that should be done in training.
Alan,
The traditional way, yes?
would it be correct then to say that the role praise plays in the game, in the cycle of the game, is that it's a marker along that route of chase, catch, fight, win?
Yeah, that's why I put that here. It's really, this is what it is really.
So it doesn't build the drive, but it's a marker in terms of signaling to the dog what you want him to do.
Yeah, it's a marker that, remember, a marker is something that we condition. So every time the dog does something good, we say, good boy, and we give him a little touch on his head. Because remember, a dog is still a social being. So touch, going back to our Jamu point, touching the dog is still something that generally most dogs will feel comforted by, right? It's a way to build bond. So like grooming a dog, grooming out a dog, and some dogs don't like grooming, but grooming a dog generally is a good thing for dogs. Some dogs like to be bathed, so they like to be shampooed and massaged and so on. Some dogs, the minute you come by them and you sit down by them, let's say dogs in the house and you touch them too much, sometimes they get up and they go. And that same dog, when he's ready to come back by you, he come back by you and lie down close to it. So that, for me, is testimony that don't just think that you could praise your dog to death and your dog will do everything for you because you praise him a lot.
No, Alan, that's not the concept. I just
I know that's not what you're saying. It's just that I want to make that point. Yeah. But I want to agree with what you're saying in terms of because a dog is still an animal, physical is still something comforting to the dog, and comfort is a level of reward.
Because sometimes you see when people play with the dog, you don't see the genuine relationship between the dog and the person. It looks black and white. It looks like there's no fun in between, right? Because they're not speaking to the dog. So they just do it, all right. They catch the ball, they buy the ball, they drive the ball, they get the ball, and it's like almost textbook then, right? Yeah. And if you look at the top handlers, how they handle the dog and how they play with the dog is quite the opposite to that, right? Yeah. There's an actual bond, a relationship with the dog. Well, where the dog is comfortable with it.
It's not subjective too, but I understand what you're saying. I agree with you.
Let me add Alan also. Ajamu is I think is have something there, because if you go back to what you are saying, Alan.
Yeah.
For type of payment, which where okay, fulfillment of the natural drive or desire, right? It have a drive called pack drive.
Yeah.
Okay, and praise will fulfill that drive. Okay, praise will fulfill that drive. The drive that you want to be a team, a member of part of a unit and that kind of thing. So praise will fulfill that drive. So what Ajamu is saying, it fosters a better relationship with the handler and that kind of thing when you praise your dog. Okay, now before the motivational training, the drive training, what trainers used to rely on is praising the dog, really, right? And it used to go well in terms of you seeing a better picture with dog and handler, right? Yeah, if you don't have the game fun with driving, with the drive, with the ball, with the tug or anything like that, as Ajamu said, it will be like just textbook. It wouldn't be anything, and just be a dog chasing.
That's why I'm making the point, and that's why I lay out the whole thing here now. And going back into your arms is a major part of it. And remember, this here is really referring to, we really want to cover the part about how to play with your dog. And I wanted to make let everybody understand that playing with your dog primarily is not really about praise. Because in truth and in fact, it's not payment. And if you were to go back to how we were trained long ago, because in my early part of training, I was part of that school, and I could give you a little story where I was mocked and laughed at when I brought my ball onto the training field while doing obedience, because the tools for obedience was a lead and a choke chain or a prong collar, nothing else. That was the tool. But I would play fetch with my dog because everybody wants to know the dog this play fetch. It was the most fun thing to do at the time. And I saw what it fetched to my dog. So I thought every time my dog sit or do something, I would throw out the ball. And of course, to the annoyance of the trainer, you know, you're breaking the sit and, you know, why are you doing that for? Get the dog under control. I was even told, don't ever do obedience before protection, right? You would break down the dog. But the truth about it is that the real thing that was happening back in those days, Kurt, with regards to that point, is that the dog was trying to avoid being punished. That is why the dog was working. The dog was not necessarily working for praise. What praise did was that it was an accomplice. It would help, and I agree it will help. So that's why I say, Ajamu, I agree with you. And there's a place for praise in that game that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to leave this lecture understanding or thinking at all that praise has anything to do with your dog wanting to work for you in the way in which we want the dog to work.
Alan,
Yes?
may I say something?
I want to finish this whole part here, you know, because the points you're making is kind
Yeah,
of within this main point that I'm going to make.
Well, I just arrived and
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
apologize, but I would like to make a contribution to this particular point because I would like to make sure that people don't miss this point here. This is a very important thing you're talking about. And I heard when Jamu had asked you the question and you said you gave him a no as an answer. And well, now we're hearing that, well, now it's shifting from a no to something else in a sense. But I think clearly praise is a very important thing. And even in the human condition, right? You know, there's a Tobagonian Calypsonian singer Calypso called Appreciation. I think he won the Monarch with that, right? Then, while it is that
Johnny King.
You want Johnny King, while it is that you get paid in other forms that will satisfy other requirements, there is nothing like praise to satisfy, because you could be getting a high salary in a job, but it's a hostile work environment. You're still not happy. But praise does something for a dog, and the dog responds by wagging the tail and coming at you, and you could tell. I mean, literally after I finish, and I want to agree with you in a sense because it's something we condition, right? But even within the pack system, like Kurt spoke about, that satisfies that, because even among the ranks,
yeah,
okay, how the alpha will relate to our omega, or how the beta will relate to the alpha, or somebody who is on the equal is completely different as somebody who is very separate in terms of rank. All right, so I don't think we should just leave it or not reinforce the point, or we should just leave it in abeyance then, in my mind.
Well, I'm not going to leave it in abeyance. What the thing about it is, so this is something I thought about over time, and I've been seeing it, because if praise had anything to do with payment, then, and you were always praising your dog, then if your dog is possessive, then you should be able to praise your dog into coming back to you. That should be the way out, or that could potentially be the way out. It is not the way out. And the thing about the praise is, my only point about that, my main point about praise is that I don't want anybody to think that praise is a true form of payment. Praise is something that we condition, and it definitely has a place in training, as I said.
Well, Alan, so praise is a very reassuring thing, right? As a very reassuring thing. Listen to me. And for the purpose of what we're doing in terms of training the dog, we in combination with praise, we use different things. We use food, we use the ball, we use different things. So they're all used in combination to reassure, to reinforce, and to ensure that with the result we want, we can bring that result about. All right. So we can't separate it to say, well, no, that is nothing, and almost
don't think so, everybody. So let's get back to the lecture here. After we could discuss all those points. So the thing about
Alan, let me help. Alan, just before you go on, let me help you a little bit.
Hold on. I don't want
anybody looking at the chat?
No,
We deliver.
Everybody looking at it.
Let me
just
deliver.
now, just now, Alan, let me help you here, okay?
Aaron, I
Guys,
don't want to.
no, no,
I don't
no,
want help.
no, no, no. Let me help you here
Yeah.
for you to proceed. This is not to deal with the discussion. This is to deal with the lecture. All right. I am the person in charge of everybody. So I can mute you, I could take off your video,
Yeah.
I could do whatever, right? So
Right.
I want to set some rules one time. So that Alan, you wouldn't be interrupted. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right?
Sorry.
That is what I want to address. Okay.
Yeah.
So listen, moving forward, guys. Let Alan is the person that is continuing the lecture and doing the lecture. Let Alan go ahead. If anybody wants to make a question or has anything to say, you could do it in the comments, or you could, as Michael Walker did, he has his hand up for the longest while, waiting for a chance to talk, okay? But let's try not to interrupt Alan too much, because it's starting to send things a little off. Let Alan continue, and you all could put your hand up, and I will advise Alan. I will say, Alan, this person has a question, and he will decide if he'll take it or not.
Thanks, Aaron, because I am seeing them, and what I would do is stop and address them.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing about it is, if we keep breaking up, then while I make one statement, which coming along the road is going to be explained, and we see the whole picture. When we see the whole picture, I think then we could jump in and, you know, start to prod a little bit and see where we wrong or where we right or whatever. But I could, if the point some of y'all making, I could dispute it by saying, well, praise would be a way out. We don't need to use the ball. But in my experience from the training on the dogs, I have seen where praise, it's good. It's something that it's an accomplice to pay. It's something that, so for instance, if I give you your check and I pat you on the back and tell you, hey, awesome work, bro, hug, embrace you and all of that. Okay, so that is the ideal situation. But at the end of the day, I can't just give you a pat on your back and tell you, hey, all the best, brother, after a whole month of work. That definitely is not going to work, because even in a hostile environment or in a not so comfortable environment, if you are paid handsomely, you kind of get to like it, right? You kind of get to enjoy it. So the thing about it is that I want to maintain, and I am only saying that about praise. I'm not taking anything away from praise for the purpose of the lecture. And we're talking about, you see, it has to follow, right? It has to follow. And we talk about engagement, we've been talking about for a very long time now. And then we talk about, for a dog to be engaged, it must be motivated, right? And in order for a dog to be motivated, it should be paid. And I wanted to put on the side, as I put this on the side, praise is not really payment. It is not payment. It is more of a marker. A dog is not born understanding the meaning of good boy. It does not understand. Some dogs, if you keep hitting them on the head, then a pat on the head, the dog may be very unsure about. So praise is something that we condition. Because it's a social being, and as Kurt rightly said, they are historically part of a pack and function in a pack. Because it's a social being, it is still guided by emotion. But guess what? If I only tell you you are a great guy, and I appeal to your emotion by saying you are a great guy at the end of the month and I don't pay you, then you may have different emotion. I hope you all followed that part. All right. So I think Lisa and all said, praise is a marker, and we talk about and I can't go into markers and talk about all that now. What I'm saying is that we know how important markers are in training, right? Now there's a matrix for the game, and you're gonna see where praise has its rightful and a pivotal place, right? But it is not the form of payment. Otherwise, we could praise the dog to death, and we could get the dog to go over the hurdle, come back, bring the dumbbell, do the tracking, do the bite work, do all the retrieves, and do the send away and all of that just by praise, right? So I want you all to understand how important the game is. So as a result, we are saying that one of the best ways to pay is that we fulfill a natural drive or natural desire that the dog have. Your natural desire in your home is to provide for your home. You cannot provide for your home by praise. It just can't. It just don't work that way. A good home, a happy home necessarily does not have to have every single thing it needs. But guess what? It's pretty tough to live It's a pretty tough life when they don't have electricity, water, you know, and all those different things. You know, things become more comfortable when you have certain things. So there's a matrix in which we use to pray with the dog, right? And I'm gonna for those who love the word praise, I'm gonna highlight praise and where praise comes in and all of that, right? So everybody seeing at the bottom here? Iran, you all seeing at the bottom?
Yep, it's clear.
It's clear, right? So
it's a little fuzzy now, but yeah.
Everybody see it. All right, good. So we have the whole idea of chasing, right? And we have to decide, eventually we have to select a toy that we'll use. So you would see Kurt with his young puppy. He may be using something different to what I am using. And like in a while, you don't expect a young lion, a cub, that is just a couple months old, to be chasing some sort of big prey and catching it. That's not possible. It's not possible for him to do it, so we shouldn't try to take up like this big sleeve here and say, hey, this is what we're going to use for the dog to chase, right? Or use this as prey on our young dog because he's a Rottweiler, he's a Doberman, and he's a big fierce dog. If your dog is a puppy, you have to use the appropriate equipment. So as a result, let's say a very young puppy, you may want to use something like this, right? You may want to use a ball. This is not the right ball, but basically this is what the ball is. Or you may want to use a bite pillow, right? Something that's softer as he gets older. You know, it all depends. But it's important to choose the right type of equipment for your puppy to chase, right? Chasing is something that is also a pathway to fulfillment, and it is almost borderline fulfilling. Some dogs love to chase. And I will let Kurt jump in at some stage on that, talking about prey drive and some dogs, most dogs that have prey drive enjoy chasing, but they enjoy chasing at some stage to catch. So it's important to balance how much a dog chases and how soon the dog would catch, and vary the times and the intervals in which the dog would catch. Because chasing alone by itself, while a dog may enjoy some chasing, it is not rewarding just to chase and not catch. It has to flow to catch it, right? So keep in mind that this game is more than just a game that we build the relationship with the dog. We use this game as a way of also assisting our dog in preparing him to meet a helper, right? So once we start the chasing, selection of equipment is possible. So you might want to use a microfiber towel if it's a very young puppy, 4 weeks old, 5 weeks old, or 6 weeks old. Then you may want to graduate to maybe like puppy leather, a very soft leather, right? Once the puppy has changed their teeth, you may want to graduate to something like that. So be fair to the dog, and based on the level the dog is at, that's where you want to start. And chasing is not always the dog chasing a toy in the air. It's not always in the air. You can, depending on the age of the dog or the drive level, you go to the ground, because chasing on the ground is the most natural thing for the dog to follow something running on the ground. A prey, yes, while it will jump, it really runs on the ground. It's not a bird the dog chasing, right? So whatever it is, it will have legs and it will primarily be running on the ground. They jump from place to place. That brings excitement to the dog, because it makes the dog not switch drives, but dog go into a different gear, right? Because of the change in movement or the trajectory of the movement, but moving on the ground. So that's why with young puppies, I like to use a lot of straight pathways. So you'll see in the class when you all move the toy from one place to the next, and the dog make 2 steps this way, and then you move it, and the dog make 2 steps that way, and they make 2 steps that way. While it is good, it is not chasing in the true essence, because the dog like this way, then that way, then this way and that way. For me, it doesn't build as much. Let the dog chase, so try to move in a straight direction for a slightly longer period, right? So that the dog can actively open its stride and go after something. And then maybe you could go in a circle, or maybe switch in the opposite direction sometimes. But please, it's very important to go in a particular direction. It's as if you throw the ball out for the dog, you will see the dog really get down and get into its gears and go towards the ball, all right? So chasing is important. A lot of times you will hear myself say, my heckle say, start off with an early win, right? An early win is very important because it gives the dog hope. if the dog keep chasing all the time, then the dog starts to lose hope. And depending on the level of the drive where your dog is at, if you start to lose that, then the dog starts to doubt himself, and the dog starts to enjoy the whole game less, right? And the thing about it is, enjoying the game less is something that you don't want, because that is leading towards the dog just not really having much interest anymore. And when the dog starts to lose motivation, you start to go backward, you don't get engagement, and you've actively lost the whole benefit of the game. So wherever you are at with regards to the training, always aim towards getting the dog more motivated. Nothing is more motivating than winning. In this case, catching toy, getting a hold of the prey. Even when an animal is hunting in the wild, there's a certain, you chase with the intention to catch something, because that's your life and death, right? So catching is very, very important, all right? Once you catch, it's important to make the dog catch in a particular way. So you saw in our previous video, I think Roger was explaining to Chris that if you were stinging somebody, boys were stinging somebody with a wet towel, how you move and bring it back, move and bring it back. It would allow the dog to commit and snatch, all right? And in providing a catch, it is still important, teacher. So it's still important that you allow the dog to catch it in a particular way, all right? So for instance, if every time you play with the dog, you only give the dog the catch when you hold the pillow in front of you. After a while, and again, depending on the drive of the dog waits for you to put the toy in front of you. And then the dog thinks, now you are doing that because maybe that's the easiest place for you. Physically is the most comfortable place for you. But if it's like that all the time, then that's a signal eventually to the dog that when the prey goes like this, that's when you're really going hard, right? And that's not what you want. You want that wherever you hold the ball or the toy, whatever direction, here, higher, lower, this way, further out, coming around behind, and the dog gets it. You want, once you present that toy within reach of the dog should commit to it to catch it, all right? Once the dog has caught it, then you have a situation where you want to create some level of fight. Because of the sport we're doing, and we're not referring to things like Belgian ring sport and so on, we want the dog to bite very actively, and we want the dog most likely pulling, right? Pulling and push biting is a separate topic, but for the all intents for Schutzen sport, or whatever they call it now, you want your dog pulling, so you want your dog taking a very firm grip, and you want the dog shaking, and you want the dog pulling, trying to dominate the prey, right? So as a result, you must be very flexible, and you must be very open and ready to give in to the dog when it is giving you fights. Sometimes when you're building drive, you don't get a lot of fight. Fight is something you can teach. You can teach the dog how to fight. You can teach the dog how to win. Because after the dog has fought, you want it to win. You notice I didn't put lose there, right? You want the dog to win. But you want the dog to fight a little bit. Some dogs don't start off with a lot of fight, and that is okay. That is something we can teach. Once your dog has the drive to chase, that's all you need. That's all you really need. If the dog doesn't have the drive to chase, then we have a big problem that we need to solve in some other way. But once we get that dog chasing, that's all we need to continue and finish this whole process. That's all we need. All right? So fighting is something that we create over time. And like I said, if you started off with a young dog and you realize from the very beginning of the game, the dog is not fighting while holding, or let's say the dog didn't chase as hard as we thought, but the dog did catch, then guess what? Stop the game right there, let the dog catch, and then give the dog the win for catching. All right? Once you start to get the dog committing to the chase, then you can, and catch, then you can ask for better fighting. If the dog is not really committed so much to the chase, then why go to the fight? Once the dog has catch, allow the dog to win. So there are some cases where you would, after the dog catch, you would give the dog the win, right? And it's not really that you're advancing the dog per se, but you are putting the dog in this position here to empower this behavior. All right. Once the dog wins, the dog is now motivated. Right? Generally, that works to chase a little harder because he realizes, hey, this is an easy game. I get to win. So the dog starts to chase harder. Right? You manipulate the catching. But again, if the dog is a lower drive dog, not chasing as hard, then you find that you want to give them an early catch. Right? And generally, that's how we start to get the dog mind right. Sometimes you may have a very high drive dog that may be a bit hectic. The dog is a bit hectic. This is one way of getting the dog calm. Of course, once the dog catches, there are other things you can do. But if the dog has to chase, then you could potentially get the dog in a more hectic state. If the dog is in a more hectic state, then you have problems down here. You have problems with this position here as well. All right. So we have the chase, we have the catch, we have the fighting. I'm going to use my dog to show you how I try to build out that fighting and how I continue the process. Winning. Winning is a very important part of it, right? It's not the end, but it is what I would consider the most gratifying part that brings us to this place where we have a great relationship, right? If you're not winning, the relationship is not going good. If you are playing with your dog with a toy and the dog does not get a win, there's no amount of praise, there's nothing else you could do to give the dog a feeling of accomplishment. There's nothing, right? Dogs always want to better their position. They always want to better their situation. Dogs don't work, I'm sorry to use the word again, just for praise or for praise. They want to better their position. Praise may be something that could be part of a reward, but it is not a reward. That does not better a dog's position, an animal that is living to survive. It does not, all right? So if you are back in this situation here and winning is important. However, because the game does not stop at winning for us based on the type of relationship we want to build with the dog, we make the dog win in a particular way. And once the dog has won, we move quickly to getting the dog back into our arms. Back at that stage, this is why we want to keep the lead on, because when you're building a dog, you often have the whole thing about possessiveness, because this goes here, right? Fighting could cause a lot of possessiveness and it could cause the dog to keep. Notice I didn't put these things in these things does not belong in the matrix, right? It does not belong in the matrix of playing the game. So if you have this here and you have where the dog you are creating a dog that you want the dog to feel that he will always win, and you are empowering a dog, you want your dog to be in power, you want your dog to be very confident, you want the dog to be acting, putting out all his energy towards something, he has to know that he always wins. And that is something we manipulate. The dog wins and he betters his position, but really and truly, because we are the master manipulators, we have gotten what we wanted. So everybody's happy. But in the dog's mind, the dog is not thinking, wow, boy, my master real happy about what I do, boy. And that's why I do everything I do. Nah, it don't really work like that in the dog mind. All right? It don't work like the dog, because the reason why the dog, like I said, sometimes in food training or drive training will offer you behaviors is because the dog is trying to get you to give them their reward faster. The dog offers you behaviors, and that is testimony to good training. All right. So you have a situation where you want the dog to win, you want the dog to feel empowered, you want the dog to always win. In winning, because we may have been building fight, right, and we've been making the dog chase a lot, the dog starts to get a little bit possessive. Any decent high drive dog, that is a behavior that is very natural. And out of being possessive means the dog wants to keep the toy. Very early in the training, you must go back to a situation where the dog feels very comfortable, right? And trusts you, right? The dog is not fighting against you. The dog must feel comfortable and trust you, so that once he has won, he's going to say, hey, look at the prize. This is the prize. Let's play. And the dog actually understands and wants to play. The dog really wants to play. Right? And Aaron, based on your point you was going to make, I don't want to remove fight, and that is why I didn't put play here. But the dog really wants to play with you. The play is in the form of a fight, right? So if you all ever had brothers, everybody grew up with brothers, or even sometimes it's girls, you know that a major part of growing up as a boy is fight. Now, sometimes the fight is get a little serious, but really and truly, the enjoyment of the whole game is the fighting is really that we just really playing, right? But that is how we play. We don't play soft, because if you're prepared to play soft, when the dog meet the helper, well then, you know, hopefully the helper plays soft with your dog, right? But so once we've gone to this stage of winning, we want this dog to want to reach to this place here. But to reach the plane again with you after winning, there's an important thing that we need to do.
Alan,
and this is what
before you go on, I don't know if you want to take, I see Chris and Michael had their hands up for a little while. I don't know if you want to take 2 quick questions for that.
So yeah, I will take the questions. I'm gonna just finish. I kind of reaching a point where when this is the last point here, so, and on the last point. So
okay, cool.
Cool. Right? Thanks. So after the winning, what we really want is for the dog to want to continue playing with us after that, right? So the dog is satisfied, but the true concept of the game that we want to create in the dog's mind is beyond the natural thing to want to possess it. We want the dog to desire to want to play with us again, right? But to get that, we need this here, right? For me, that is a very important part of creating that behavior. If the dog after winning is not comfortable sharing his spoils with you, right? And telling you, hey, let's start back to play again, then you will never get a dog returning to you. It's not going to happen. So bringing back the dog into the arms, that is what Ajamo was talking about. Bring back, that's why we keep the lead. So on the winning part, we keep the lead in the dog, we keep the lead on the dog, so that we can bring back the dog, allow the dog to carry the prey, because that is also fulfilling for the dog to carry its prey around very proudly in its mouth, right? That is when the dog would have caught the rabbit or caught or whatever, and now taking it back or allowing his part of his tribe or his pack to come and eat when he eats first, of course, right? That's a very proud moment, because that's what they have to do to provide the pack. That is what maintains the pack, right? The winning is what maintains the pack. So it's very important, and that's why win is not praise. So, but this part here is pivotal, right? It is pivotal because your game could go in either direction, right? If you don't do this part right, or if you leave out this part, most likely there are some dogs naturally will come back to you for different reasons which we need not discuss. But you could go off here, bringing back that dog into your arms and letting that dog understand that it can rest with you, with the toy, and not have to fight or wrestle with you or play at that stage is a very important part. It distresses the dog, it comforts the dog, it creates trust for the dog, and that is what Ajamu talking about, that physical connection, that wanting for not to look black and white or just very plain with your dog. That brings about an expression. Your dog always wants to come back to you. So if you bring that dog back into your arms, you will create a behavior that after the dog has won and has carried his prey, even if it's a sleeve from the helper, you rip that sleeve away and he come back to you. Sometimes you would see the dog enjoying the work with the helper and they'll push back the helper with the sleeve. That's in training, not in competition. But generally, I want that dog to rip it out of the helper and say, hey, come back to his hand and say, hey, here it is. Let both of us play now. I just fought him, but I want to play with you, right? So that transfers even from helper work into thing. So this is the place for that. And that is something that we have to condition. It does not happen naturally. Just like praise, which is a marker, it is something that you have to condition. If you leave that part out, you are definitely, I have not seen it different yet. I can be proven wrong. But I have not seen it where the dog is just a dog that is chasing hard, fighting hard, naturally he wants to come back to you. It does not happen when he wants to return. It does not happen like that. The dog has to have a level of trust. And to bring about that trust, when a dog has one, you have to build that relationship, that connection with the dog. The thing about it is, it's somewhat forced in the early, because in shaping it, as I said, the dog does not necessarily want to come back to you. The dog wants to keep it, right? Because he's just forward fit and so on. But if you do it early in the game enough, and you use your lead and things like that to condition your dog to come back into your arms, you would have seen it. I think Chris saw it where his dog started to calm down, and it was easier to get back the dog, and the dog not realize, wait now, coming back to him after I win, I could rest. Eventually now, once you get that dog coming back to you, and I will show you when the dog is ready to move on with my dog, because my dog is a possessive dog. When she's ready to move on, you can turn your back and the dog will want to come into that place of rest. But you have to condition that so much and have so much repetition with that, in that you get the dog, that it becomes natural for the dog to want to come back to you. Once the dog comes back to you, you initially and gradually start back the play. And what I have found works well is that once the dog is in your arms, you release the dog, you do a little bit of play, then you bring back the dogs in your arms. And you know, I talk about repetition. I talk about putting in the reps. This is like gym work. So you will see where at every phase, I put in a lot of reps. I put in reps in chasing. I put in reps in fighting and teaching the dog how to win. I put in a lot of reps here, and that is what builds my behavior over time. So I get a dog that wants to come back to play with me. So the relationship you want to build with your dog is that, yes, the dog goes hard, the dog drives hard, the dog wants to fight, but when the dog, the idea of it is that that dog really is in, while he's being paid, he enjoys the game and he's not fighting you, and the dog doesn't understand that I should fight you for the toy. The harder I fight for the toy, I win it, I take it away, game is done. You have to manipulate me and trick me now to come back to it. That may be part of the process, but ideally where you want to be is that that dog is willing to come back to you to play, right? And again, this situation here, why I put that fulcrum there is because that is pivotal to that. That's where you praise, and that is where you sing your praise as well. That's one of the places, that's it. But boy, you build that connection with the dog at that stage. You touch the dog, you move a particular way with the dog. It's not like when training, in bike training, when you're pumping up the dog, when the helper is agitated. It's a different behavior, it's a different thing that you want to allow between your dog. So I will stick a little pin there, and I will take Chris and Michael questions. I'm gonna check who else is asking. Hello?
Yeah, all right. So Alan, I want to go back, I guess, quite early to the start.
Sure.
Quite early, actually. So, sorry, a couple of things. Is one, a lot of what you stated here depends, or some extent condition on you understanding your dog, understand what drives your dog, understand what makes your dog comfortable, excited, etc., etc. So that's one. And whether it's praise or food or whatever the case may be, there are certain things that dogs respond to in different manners, and you have to actually know your dog. That is one. I think one of the ways that, at least for me, I build trust and relationships, etc., with the dog is from very early. Simple things such as the feeding routine, simple things such as the play routine, etc. So, for example, I encourage them, praise them, even give them treats, etc., to bring back stuff to me from the earlies. So I throw something for bringing back, you get a piece of cheese. You get a pattern.
You pay them for good behavior.
Right. So you get something. Again, it depends on your dog, because there are dogs that will bring back object to you simply for the affection and the chance to do it again, and there are ones who you might have to give them something in replacement. But if you do that early, you set a certain habit whereby they get accustomed to bringing that item back to you.
Yeah, you could build a habit, correct.
Right. So that's why I put some of those things there. So the key thing is really understanding your dog and what makes your particular dog or that particular dog tick, and building on that.
Yeah. Well, to add to your point, Michael, though, once you start doing, because remember this training, because I do a lot of pet training too, and I have never used a toy in pet training. I don't use drive because the person who wants their dog just function in the yard, the most I would teach the dog is to fetch. Go, come back, bring it back to you. I use food. That's how I pay the dogs. And there's a lot of praise with the food, but I use food. That's the way I get the dog to sit, is I manipulate the food and I get the dog to sit. I mark it with praise and I feed, right? Eventually, I use a bit of compulsion. I mesh it too, and we get a good result. But what you are saying there, once we are taking a dog to a high level of training, where we need a dog retrieving, going away from us and coming back to us with speed and so on, you have to use a higher level of payment, right? And when we talk in payment here, we talk in these things here. But we're not going to be with food on the field for the dog's entire life. So it still comes back to fulfilling that natural drive. And the natural drive would still come back to prey using a ball or a tug. So as he rightfully said, in the early stages, you inculcate a lot of praising and so on. You use that as a marker to take good behavior, and you build, and how you build a marker? You build a marker by loading a marker. So you praise your dog. He comes to you, good boy, that's it. You see him somewhere, you praise him up, good boy. So it's like with the clicker with food. Click, feed, click, feed, click, feed. You build your marker, right? You build the marker, but it still goes back to this because remember, we're talking in context of a dog doing shoots and sport as I indicated earlier. So that covers that still works with your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, I just saying at the very beginning, from the formative stages, as soon as you get the dog, you can build some of those habits.
Yeah.
You want to have later on that will be transferred to a prey item, etc. by using stuff like food and play and things. So from in the very first week, 2, 3, 4.
It's an accomplish.
Yeah, you build it. You build out that
once
thing.
you get into more training, it's a situation where the dog is going to like whatever you're doing, the dog is going to like the food a lot. And then once a dog is naturally prey driven, Michael, the prey drive comes so high from doing it that you have to reach to this matrix.
Yeah, another segment here, Alan.
Yeah.
We actually in agreement.
Yeah.
As I was saying, early to build out somebody.
Yeah, like anything else, yeah, correct. Chris, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something again with the praise on thing, right? What I understood from what we were training before is that the intention is to put the praise and the reward close together, and then eventually by saying the praise, you guarantee the dog that you're gonna get a reward eventually, which is the payment. So you're trying to train the dog in the intention that you could spread out the distance between that. Let's say I'm training without food or without a ball or something. I say, good boy. He knows that eventually he will get the payment. So that is how I understand what the intention of the praise was.
You're correct. So what the good boy that you said is this.
Right.
A marker.
Okay. So at the end of the day, basically, is to try to get rid of that as much payment by using praise.
No,
so that the dog will understand that if I praise him, he is guaranteed some sort of reward later on.
Well, no. So remember, yes, but I want to clarify it. Remember when we lay down our foundation for training with the food, we said that we make a gesture with the food and we mark it by saying good or good boy or whatever. The marker tells the dog something. It puts the dog in the right frame of mind, tells the dog your reward is guaranteed. The reward is still the payment.
The payment, right.
So that still fits with my point that, and you said it correctly, it's a marker. So when you say good boy, but remember, you can't go on the trial field saying good boy and pulling out your toy and all of that. So at the end of the day, what keeps the dog motivated is the dog expectation that he will be rewarded, that he will be paid. The marker is just a form of securing the dog mentally and telling the dog, hey, it is guaranteed. it's a part and process of the training. So the marker is what we use to keep the dog out of a state of the dog. So the dog remains in conflict when we use the marker. The conflict is that the dog does not really know when he will be rewarded.
When you reward.
You
so he's motivated then.
Yes. So to be practical for those who new to training, the marker is you tell the dog sit. The minute the dog butt touch the ground, you say good boy. Once you say good boy, the dog in his mind understands that, hey, I am doing the right thing and my reward is guaranteed. What you do after that may be confusing to the dog, except for the fact that you already marked the behavior. So I may say, good boy. So the dog sits, I say, good boy. And I turn my back and I walk off and I walk around a corner. But the dog is not thinking, should I follow him when he leaves around the corner? Should I follow him after 5 seconds? Should I follow him after 10 seconds? Should I follow him if I hear somebody clapping or talking around the corner? No. What the dog understood by you marking the behavior is that, hey, my reward done guaranteed. I just doing the right thing right now. And because I am doing the right thing, I'm in the right place. I am 100% sure, despite what I see happening going on in front of me, I am already guaranteed my salary. That check is already on my name, right? So the conflict is that the dog doesn't know when, but the dog is 100% sure that he's going to get his reward. That has nothing to do with that. The reward is not the praise or the marker. You understand? It's an intermediary.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing.
Yeah.
The trust aspect, right?
Yeah.
Is that why we decide to kick out the ball and kick out the pillow and not try to handle it with our hands so that we develop that trust that we're not taking it from him?
So I want to believe that you're talking about in the drive phase when the dog actually catches and then we have the dog in our arms and then we decide to take the dog at some stage. Why we chose the dog off is because we want the dog to fight a little bit more first. We want to create we want to go back after the win. We want to go back in the early stages as a puppy. We want to go back to the fight. The fight builds courage, it builds desire, right? So once the dog realizes it's slipping, it's like, you know what it is like? It's like a wildebeest in the dog mouth. The dog have hold of it, but it's fighting up and trying to get away. It will make the dog more powerful in his grip. It will make him try to put off all the energy he has. And when he loses it, right, he wants to do everything. He's going from 0 to 100 to try to get it back. And that state of mind that we put the dog in at that stage is what helps with our drive process and building a very powerful dog. Why we don't use our hands is one. It's two. Is because when it's on the ground there and you holding back a powerful dog, right? You could get bitten. Your hand could get between the prey and the toy, and it could get bitten. Also, your dog could be a bit, I think I put it somewhere here, possessive, right? Your dog could have a little bit of possessiveness and actively, consciously bite you because he's possessed over the toy and he's in a stage of resource guarding and he's thinking, hey, that man trying to get it, and the dog might actually turn. My dog do it. The dog I have right now do it. I didn't get bite yet, but she turns and thinks about it, right? And you probably will see it tonight, right? In a little while. So that's one of the main reasons. And when you kick it out, think about it this way. The prey falls out the dog mouth and it shoots off. Think about the visual for that dog, seeing that prey just dart off in a direction. Think about what that does to the dog.
Okay.
You know, it's even
so
more
then you start back over the chase then. You start back over the chase.
Well, yeah, that's the cycle there, you know? Because once you're doing that, that is when the dog is in the early stages of drive building. You could still do it when the dog gets older, but it is important when in the early stages.
Okay.
All right.
Alan, I have a question.
Just now, Lisa, Ajamu has a question before you.
Yeah, Jamu.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on 1 or 2 points, right? When we talk about markers in dog training, right? Good boy, clicker, whatever it is. I think it's an important point that we miss here. There's something in dog training called loading your marker, right? Good boy will mean nothing to a dog that somebody did not load. So
I didn't speak about that. Right? You heard when I spoke about that?
I couldn't remember hearing it, so that is why I was touching on the
Talk about
points.
recently, yeah.
Yeah,
Click feed, click feed, click feed. You have to build an understanding of the marker.
oh, well,
That's
I
why I
didn't
say
hear it in
you're
this
not
section,
born
right?
knowing English.
Right, well, I probably missed it, right? But I just wanted to touch on the point that all markers should be
Condition.
loaded, so you don't condition loaded, so you don't understand or put meanings to the word. So the marker is like a promissory note, but it's loaded before, so you don't get the understanding. So it's preloaded even before you start to do any type of obedience work, right? Because you don't want to start saying good boy and the dog doesn't even know what good boy is. It
Dog
has
is
to
not
do with
understanding English, so good boy means nothing to him until you
no
condition.
meaning to it. And I wanted to touch a little bit on the point on Christian, I think his name correct, Christian would have made in terms of the reward and duration. When you train for IPO, shit, some high level competition, right? And I could be wrong, but I think the end goal, right, is to pay dog to reach a point where, how to put it, that the dog could work, that the dog becomes so motivated, right? That the dog could go for a certain amount of time doing the work, right? And knowing that if I work at a certain level, at a certain high level of drive, with a certain amount of focus and do exactly what I need to do, right? I could perform a routine for 15 minutes, 5 minutes, right? And still remain motivated and know that you can get the reward at the end. When we start, we want to be rewarded often, but when we go to compete on the field, we want to take our dog to a point, make them remain motivated for 5 minutes and know that the reward will still come after, right? Because you was right and say you cannot take the ball onto the field, you cannot say good boy, but you could condition your dog to be so motivated and so conditioned that you know when you go on the field, right, and you take him out and you tell him a certain word, right? Trial time, however you condition your dog, or time to work, or whatever it is, that he know when you say time to work, that he would work in high drive for 5-10 minutes, and you know that when he come off the field, he's going to get the reward, right? So I think Christian kind of made the point, and I just wanted to reiterate it a little bit that the frequency in which we get the reward, we want to take the dog to the point that it's so motivated that he can work for a certain amount of time, right, based on a certain cue, and still know that the reward will come. And that is where we're working towards when we start training our dogs to get to that point when we're going to trial. Right? That's just the 2 points I wanted to make.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
yeah, so good. I mean, like I said, I wanted the conversation. I mean, we could talk for the next 3 hours on what this will do for you. But my goal here today in this session is to really lay a firm foundation in everybody's mind of the importance, the true importance of the game in building a functional working relationship for your working dog and how to do it. With regards to the competition day and so on, of course, you will see how it rolls out. And we talk about anticipation of the reward and so on. All those things is going to, but the point is we want to empower the dog and we want to build a relationship with the dog, right? And my last point will be about the relationship, going back to this original relationship thing. But I want to feel any more points. I want to hear from like Harish and Cody and Sandrina and so on. If you all have anything to add.
Lisa, I think Lisa had a question.
Yeah. Lisa.
Alan, make me feel bad. You want to hear from Harish and Cody and Sandrina. You want to hear from Lisa.
But no, I can't do that
What
at
kind
all.
of thing is that, Alan? Anyway.
He guarantee you, he mark it already. He mark it already.
I hear you. All right. I feel I have to apologize because clearly some of us here are really, really more involved in training and for a longer time. So my question is seemingly a baby question.
All questions I can answer. So don't apologize.
You said, right. I took note that you said when you were talking about the stages of the matrix and in terms of the play in building drive, there's a particular way to catch and there's a particular way to fight. If you could just give us a few pointers, those of us with the very young puppies who now getting into it probably don't have much experience with the particular way to catch and the particular way to fight.
Right. So that's something that Kurt is going to show with his puppy because I think he has a puppy that is about 7 weeks.
10 weeks, 10 weeks.
10 weeks, something around there, right?
All right.
So, cool. But my main points that I was talking about with catching is that you want the dog to grab at the toy. You don't want, like what Curtis be talking about, a suicidal rabbit, where you just leave it right there and the dog end up getting it. You want it to be moving back and snapping it away from the dog. When you decide you want the dog to catch, you either leave it in position wherever it is for him to go through it. When I say go through it, he must be thinking it's still moving away from him and he goes with so much power that he goes through it and pushes it. Or you want that the dog is in this position here and you move it, you swing it back and forth, and that time you slow it down. So the dog is like this. And then one time the dog is able to catch it because you slow down your approach, right? So you want the dog to actively catch it. Fighting now. Fighting depends on how hard your dog is gripping. If your dog is not chasing hard and it hasn't caught it hard, then you cannot do much fighting. You have to go to winning. So that's where you have to balance that. However, if they specifically talk about the fighting and a certain play on top, you want a dog that is biting actively. So you don't want a dog that just bite and fall asleep while you prey. It's as if the prey faint, right? You don't want a dog. You ever see a wildebeest or a deer or something, when a lion or something catch it just faint away and it dies again? It is fight for his life, the adrenaline, everything, it will fight. So if your dog is not naturally a dog that fights the prey and shakes the prey a lot, you have to do some movement like a jumping prey in the dog mouth still for the dog to want to bite down. Eventually, you must be very sensitive enough that the minute the dog does a little bit of pulling, you ease up. In the early stages, if slightest pull you get, you'll want to let it go. You can build repetition by taking back the toy again and wait for the dog to pull and then let it go. You do that about 3 or 4 times, right? So that's 4 reps before you let the dog run off with it and on the lead and run around you. If not, and the dog is fighting really hard, you are holding the toy like this, you let the dog fight, and then you put back tension. Fight, and then you put back tension here. Fight. You do it 3 times, you do it 5 times, depending on the level of your dog. But Lisa, that depends on how hard your dog is chasing. So let's take, for instance, your boy. He is Fidel, right? He is chasing pretty good. Catches, but he's not fighting too much yet. Right?
No, yeah.
So you must be so you have to make the chase very exciting for him so that he's in a heightened state of mind. So when he does catch, he's actually committing very hard. And because he's committing hard to catch, you either want to give him a win or you want to put him in an uncomfortable state. So that is why sometimes we say, raise him off the ground and his front legs off the ground. If his front leg is off the ground, generally an animal that has 4 legs wants to get their 4 legs on the ground. So as a result, he may pull a little bit. Once he pull, you give in and you give him the win. You take all the tension off the toy. After that, you could put some more tension again and take his legs off the ground. The dog thinks, hey, how do I get back comfortable again? Because a dog wants to be comfortable. He wants to better his position. Stick to you see those little principles I told you all? Stick to that and it will guide you all the way. If the dog wants to better his position, he is a 4-legged animal. He's not a 2-legged animal. So he wants to get his 4 legs on the ground. He's going to pull back or drop his weight. And Rottweilers are famous for dropping that weight. That's how they dominate in the court. That's why Aaron could have given all some fatigue and say, when all you have a shepherd or a pointy-ass dog dragging a decoy off the field, then check him. Right? And put that one in for you, Aaron.
Thanks, bro.
So the point is that if you make him uncomfortable a little bit, you can start to get some fight out of him. The mistake that we make is that we don't reward the fight. We wait to get the shaking and we wait to get that to reward that. That's not how you build hope. You build hope by rewarding the slightest degree of fight if you're not getting it. It's just like teaching a dog how to bark for food. We wait till we get how. We wait till we get that to reward that. Sometimes you may get a little cry. Reward that. The cry may turn into 1 bark. Reward that several times. And when you get 1 bark 5 times consistently, so you ask him to bark, you give him. You ask him to bark, you give him. Once you keep getting that consistently, you could now wait for 2 barks because your foundation is 1 bark. your foundation in fighting is a slide pull. Once he bites and he gets the opportunity and he gives you that slide pull, that is where you know you're ready to move forward. And wait out for a second pull or a harder pull. But don't wait for that if you're not there yet.
All right. Thanks.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, great. Who else we have here on?
Roger, I see you take off your mute. You wanted to ask a question or say something?
Me?
Yeah, I see like you put back on your mic.
No, maybe I did it by mistake. Sorry.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Yeah.
Right. So that's it for questions.
As far as I see here.
Harish. Harish in the chat.
Yes, sir. I'm alive.
How are you going?
Checking
Have you understood?
Yeah, no, I understood. I think it's good because the work that we're doing with the puppies, it kind of pulls it all together, the theory.
Yeah.
Because you've explained it in great detail of what's going on at each step, so we can appreciate the importance of everything we're doing.
Right.
Because during the training, anybody comments.
To grab everything. Yeah.
It's hard to grab everything when you're doing so much with a puppy.
Yeah. And we are seeing things at a different rate to you. So that's why, and sometimes I would admit that we may be actively confusing you at times. But it's just that we see a situation that needs to be addressed, and but then it has to be translated to you. You're already caught up doing something,
yeah.
And then now you change what you're doing and adjust, and then sometimes the moment is gone. So
exactly,
clarity in your mind, and that's why I had to say some of the things, expressively how I said it, and then come back. So that's why I had to put praise is not payment, it's a marker. And that's why I had to bring it back home and tell you why and where it fits in and how it is important to the actual matrix of the game.
That point before, hold on. That point before play again, the last point where you hold the dog, the puppy.
Yeah, back in your arms?
Yeah, you should be hugging the puppy, right?
So that's the thing. So in your last video, actually watch it over, and you lift up the puppy with the 2 legs off the ground, and he automatically dropped the toy. Because what you did there is that you made him uncomfortable. Like I said, a puppy, all dogs are 4-legged animals. So when you lift him up, he's not locked in like that yet to the toy to hold it on, and is not necessary. So when we told you put him in your arms, you rightfully take up the puppy and put him in your arms. But it wasn't that in that sense. It was, we talk about cradling the dog. And again,
okay.
I'm going to typically do it with my dog so that you see, right? Okay. But it's just about the dog coming back into you on his 4 legs and being comfortable, and he could rub the side and keep the dog coming, and get the dog trusting that he could rest by you.
So squat down basically and get to his level.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right. Sandrina, I heard from you for the evening.
Hi, good evening. I'm good. I hear.
All right. So you understood everything basically?
Yep, because with the chase and the catch and fight and win back in arms and play, I realized, well, we did that with Jade with the float pole and now with the ball. So I had an actual visualization of what you was talking about.
But so for you now who actually doing it, you have to pay attention to the fine details, right? And the fine details in terms of how you let the dog catch. The dog must be going through the toy, right? To catch, right? And then even with the fighting, you want to create an actively biting dog, so you must be very sensitive once the dog has catch. Again, you will see where we talk about ensuring a full grip and so on. But sometimes in the catch, based on where we are, the dog may not always bite foot, right? And sometimes you may not be able to adjust, right? And those technical things as well, I did want to put it, example, it falls under how to fight and so on, but I didn't want to harp on it too much because I wanted you all to understand the how the matrix flows out, how it pans out. And once you get that understanding, we can go into small details. However, it was important to mention of how the dog should catch and what type of fighting we're talking about and how we bring about fighting and so on, right? We ensure a full grip because we always want to get a full grip, but a lot of times the helper will help you with that. And then when you're biting, when the dog is biting, let's say a ball, which is the main toy we work with, the dog kind of, once it is in the dog mouth, right? So once it is like this in the dog mouth, we consider that good enough, even if it have a space here. Because a lot of times the dog would not bite toy all the time like this. He may just bite it like this, but he has a firm grip on it. All right. So anybody else? Cody. Is Cody in the chat?
Yes, I'm here.
Right, Cody. So remember you sent me a video about talking about the game, and you know the trainer was speaking about look how you should be able to look at your dog and get your dog in drive and so on.
Yeah, I think I remember that. That was the one when he was speaking about tapping to the dog's emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Lisa has a question. Lisa, do you have a question? I just saw something on the.
No, she was just responding to something I had put.
Something I just saw it. Okay, I just saw the message flash up. So when we're talking about a relationship, right? Talking about, let me put that in. Relationship. Sometimes the feeling that you have is not something that you could explain in words, you know? It's something that, you know, is like, you know, when you have your little first little crush or something, a boyfriend or girlfriend kind of thing. It's a different kind of feeling that you're almost unsure about, but you're sure about, right? But what you know is that it's something that brings about strong feelings, strong passion, and it can be something simple as somebody watching you, you know, the way the memories of certain things and all of that. But there's a certain type of relationship you want to maintain with your dog. It is difficult or impossible to maintain it with humans, but the good thing with dog training is you can maintain this with dogs forever, right? You can build, and it takes a lot to break it. And even when you break it, if the dog is good enough, in my mind, good enough, it's something that, yes, Lisa, yes. It's something that, you see, I want to bring across the meaning to you. It's something that, it's so difficult to explain, but yet so powerful. You know, it's hard to define it, right? It's hard to define it. But what you know is that it can cause a lot of emotion and bring about a lot of power. So physically, if you have a great relationship with your dog, you can bring about a lot of power, a lot of expression. Again, similar to what Ajama was talking about. And Roger to say, you need to watch his dog sometimes, and he could get a reaction from the dog, and you know, and never even pull out the ball. And there's a one little trick I use, right, all the time. I mean, it's not a big secret, but it's something I use. But if you play this game right, you get that relationship where you watch the dog in a particular way. The dog, in anticipation, know what is coming next. The dog knows that, hey, the state of mind that this whole game puts me in is something so amazing that it sends a rush to the dog, and you could not pull out that ball, right? And going back to what Ajamu said, and your dog could do a complete exercise for you just because the relationship you have built, the understanding of that, the feeling that brings, and that expectation of eventually getting paid. And remember, the pay coming down to really playing with you, right? It coming down to really playing with you. But because we use dogs that are genetically wired to have such high prey drive, and we select them for training, the better ones, we are using that fulfillment of the natural drive and desire. That desire solidifies our relationship, right? That desire solidifies our relationship. So once we use this and apply this matrix, we get a relationship that nothing could break with the dog. You go on and feel it rain. The minute you watch your dog, and even if you don't give a keyword, your dog knows eventually from experience, hey, it's time to work. Your dog knows it. Your dog, you would see it coming through the dog. You would see attitude in the dog change. It's different from carrying your dog for a walk. And that is why we told you all, eventually, when you start using the ball and getting point training, when you take your dog for a walk, your dog will not be walking like this in the air, watching up all the time. That's why I even put a command to my dog when I tell him, let's go. Let's go, meaning he can walk and he can walk at the end of the lead and smell and do what he wants and be a dog. Can't pull, can't rush other dogs, but he can walk and be a dog. So if I take him somewhere, a hike or a river or the street, on the bus route or somewhere, he knows that he can walk and walk at the end and probably cross, be in front of me and so on, but he can't pull. The minute he feels tension, he will pull back a little bit, right? But that working relationship is different. The minute you watch a dog, I have a whistle I would use, so I would tell him, how to play or something like that. Listen, the dog explodes. It could cause the dog to just go into shoot off adrenaline. What it happens is that the cortisol levels in dog brain flies up, right? So high, the dog is ready to fully motivated, and you have not even brought out that ball yet, right? So that is the relationship you want to build. And it is, if you don't have a dog with a lot of natural or no natural prey drive, it is very difficult to apply this matrix. As a result, we don't really use dogs anymore that don't have any prey drive to do this level of work. As a result, the boy, when he goes out, and my good friend Mark will tell you that we use food. The few people that may want a little extra something with a dog, and the dog does have some prey drive, yeah, we may do something with a ball or whatever. But this is what we use as payment. All right. So any more questions?
I think that's it for questions. I ain't seen anybody else raising their hands.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So
yes.
So you have anything to add? Because I want to go to my dog and then your dog with some work, with some pre-drive work and chasing and catching and trying to get some fight and so on.
No. We're not going through the thing that I went through last Monday, though.
Well,
I think we should.
You think it's necessary? You want to do it?
I don't know. It's there. It's no problem.
I think you should do it, Kurt, because there are some people who didn't get it.
Yeah, some people would not have been there, and I think it will a lot of it would reinforce.
Okay,
what
no
happened.
problem.
So you would go to it one time? Could we share your screen?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. In the meantime, I will move my camera and get it going.
Okay.
So Aaron, you could make that adjustment?
Yeah, I'll just take the pin off you and leave it on Kurt. So Kurt will Kurt's screen is what we're watching now. Yeah.
Okay. Try to share my screen now.
Yeah, Kurt, it up.
That's it. But Kurt, you could put it in a full, right, perfect.
That's nice now.
Perfect, yeah.
I'm hearing some chickens in the background, roosters in the background there.
Yeah.
I come on, that.
Well, he stopped with the fish, so he
Good evening again, everyone. Well,
that was a low blow, terrible. Kurt, our condolences for the fish.
no problem, man. I get over that already.
You're accustomed to that. We just pounding hard.
I have no problem. Being short and small, people just want the advantage from long time. So I used to.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So y'all can stop me and ask question at any time during this. Okay. So again, we have the assumption that the dog have what we call prey drive, and we're looking at prey driven dog, the dog that we are using towards the competition, right? So we're not looking at pet training or what Alan was referring to, that they're using food. So we're looking at the game or drive training. So we're looking at the game and drive training. So we'll say that we're not just going on the field with a ball or tug and just moving it around and let the dog catch on, bite and this kind of thing. That we have to have an aim, we have to have a purpose. And the reason why I say is the game or drive training, okay, because all of that is training involved. So we have to understand that too, although we are playing, although it seems as a game, we have to understand that is training also. And then with training, whereas every other training, we have to have an aim, we have to have a purpose, why we're doing what we are doing. So there's a lot of things that come out of this game, this training, this purpose. Okay, so one of the thing that we do in this driving or this game is what we call developing prey drive. And I say developing because prey drive is something that is innate in the dog. It's something that the dog is born with. The dog, based on its genetics, it's built in, right? And not necessarily because you have high twitch muscles that you can just go into the Olympics and win gold. Okay, you have to develop, you have to train it. So the game helps develop that prey drive, right? So it will start at one level and go as a development. It go from one to a higher and go on and move up as necessary. So it is a development of prey drive. Okay, another thing we do, because prey is the least stressful drive in the dog. The dog don't feel stress in prey. It is a way to relieve stress. Sometimes we build up stress in things that we do. Sometimes we doing an exercise, and based on doing the exercise, repeat the repetition, it builds up stress in the dog. And a great way to relieve those stress is that game, that driving for the ball or the toy or anything like that. It relieves stress in the dog. Good. It is a condition reinforcer. So we can use this as a reward because it is rewarding for the dog. So we can condition it and reinforce. Okay, so when we ask the dog to do something and it does it, then we could say, hey, we giving it that toy, that ball, that game. So it conditioned. So it is a reinforcer. And we know when we did the reinforcement versus punishment, we know a reinforcer is something that you do to cause the action to repeat itself in the future. Okay, so you want that. So you condition that reinforcer in that game, in that chasing that ball. So you condition it. Okay. It also tells the dog that hard work brings success. So the harder you chase behind this ball, this toy, it brings success. But remember, we say it's development. So we're developing it. So I normally say easy win first, and then you start to increase the level of difficulty in the dog, in the prey, in working towards it. So it knows from the previous training that I'm going to get this, and more I work towards it, I'm going to get it. So it tells the dog, it brings out the point that hard work brings success. Again, after a while, it'll have to work longer to get reward. So if you go on a field, the dog will work for 30 seconds and get reward. Then it'll have to work for a minute and get reward. After that, it might probably go to 5-10 minutes before it get reward. But the dog know that, hey, I'm working, but success will come. So that tells this game tells the dog that hard work will bring success. Also brings build the trust and the bond. The coming into your arms, the bringing back the toy to you, and that kind of thing. That is what you're developing in the game. So it develop a trust between you and the dog. It also develop a bonding. Okay, trust that you're not going to just take away the toy or take away his reward and that kind of thing. Okay, it knows that, hey, if we come back to you, the game will start over. If I tell the dog to out, the dog will out because he trusts me to know that, hey, I'm not just going to take it away. I'm going to probably restart the game or that kind of thing, right? It brings a bonding between you. Because believe it or not, you and the dog, you are a team. Okay, and the better you bond together is the better picture you're going to look on the field. It will look different to somebody who just pick up a dog on the day and that kind of thing. A dog that could do the work, and any good handler could pick up the dog and do the routine. But the routine will look different if you are bonded with your dog, if the dog trusts you. Okay? Develop the fight drive in the dog. So you all this playing, this driving, this fighting, this tugging will develop fight drive, right? And again, I use the word develop because it starts somewhere and then it increase. Okay, and this also will foster well when it starts to go towards the helper, towards biting a sleeve or some suit, leg sleeve or anything like that. Okay, so all of this you are developing even fight drive. So all of this you have to understand in this little game that we playing, right? And the fighting, you developing these things in the dog. Another thing you do apart from developing the fight drive, you teach your cause the grips to be proper grips is important. So we it's from there the dog will get proper grips. Now some dogs genetically will bite full. Okay, apart from genetics, right? Let me put it this way: it have two train of thoughts in terms of stardom. Some train of thought say a star is born, so you're born and you're a star, you're born. And some say that a star is made. Either the two of them, training is involved. You cannot become to stardom without training. So this year, okay, although you're genetically wired to bite proper, this training, this driving, this game, right? You as the handler have to ensure that proper grips are maintained. So there are certain things that you do to ensure that there's proper grip. Okay, that's why we'll say you need to hold, you need to stop, and let the dog readjust. So in readjusting and starting back the fight, the dog will understand, it will condition the dog that, hey, I need to bite proper. If the grips are not proper in the wild, it means that the animal, the prey will get away. So it is important that the dog bites proper, firm, and also calm. Firm, calm grips, and to the back, right? So the dog biting to the back. Okay, good. It also a stage, right, that you're preparing the dog for the helper. So this is a preparation for the helper. So when the dog reaches the stage of the helper, he will have proper grips, or she will have proper grips. It will bite calm and firm. It will have a high fight in him, okay? And he will know the out and these different things. Okay, so this is a preparation towards the helper. So all of this we have to understand. In this game that we're playing, right, is also a preparation, is a stepping stone. It's a place that it will graduate towards the helper. So we have to understand all of this is taking place in this game that we are playing. Good? Teaching the dog boundaries in this game also. The dog will know, hey, there's a toy, a ball, a device that I allowed to bite, and I can bite it as hard as I could. But I'm not allowed to bite the helper. I'm not allowed to bite the person that is waving this around or that kind of thing. So you're teaching the dog boundaries. Okay, so if the dog probably bite onto your pants or your shirt or dress or whatever, you know the dog, hey, this is not what you bite, it's the ball you're biting. Is the sleeve, is the toy you are biting. So you're teaching the dog boundaries. Okay, this is unacceptable behavior. This is unacceptable behavior. Although I'm telling you to bite. Biting this is acceptable. Biting this one is unacceptable. So this is teaching the dog boundaries. Again, it's fun, it's play. So it is not just rote. It is not just robotic or mechanical. It is something that is fun. So you have to have fun and the dog have to have fun. So you have to be seemingly having fun to the dog, right? Because we know that the dog will, this is encouraging, this is fulfilling to the dog, because the dog, this is the natural drive of the dog. But the dog, because you are bonding with the dog, because there's a trust, because you and the dog as a team, the dog seeming that you having fun too will help the dog to do this drive harder and stronger for the toy, for the ball, whatever he's playing with. Okay, so fun and play is important. So we both have to have fun and play. Good. Right, this is a good place to teach the out. I normally said that I free shape the out in this exercise, in this, okay, because at one point of the time, the dog will drop the toy, he will spit it out. So I teach the out in that aspect, okay? You can teach the out by saying the out repeatedly, and out, and then you start the game, you say out, you restart the game. So you know that the dog know that there's a trust, there's a bond that, hey, once I hear this out and I let go the toy, the game going to restart. The game is going to restart. So this is a way you can teach the out before you go to the helper, before you go to a situation that you need to make sure that this out is tested and proven, right? Because there's accident that could happen, and you don't want the accident to happen in a real bite situation. Okay, so this is a place that you teach the out. Okay, you teach retrieve. So throwing out the toy as a part of the game, the dog will go out and come back to you, because the bond, the fight, and that kind of thing is the play is the fun. It is enjoyable, so the dog will come back to you, right? So this is the way a way can teach retrieve. So throwing out the ball, throwing out the toy, and the dog go retrieve it and come back to you. That also is part of the game. Okay, so when we say aim and purpose, right? This game have all of this incorporated in it, right? And at different intervals, you will be doing one of these things, right? And you have to bear in mind that all of these things have to come together in at some point in time. So before you start, you have to understand or have a purpose. What I'm going to do this time around. What am I going to do this time around? Okay, and then we'll understand that, hey, all of this will come together in as I progress in this. Right. Another thing that we do is what we call capping the drive. Somebody asked, what is capping the drive? Good question, by the way. Right? What is capping the drive? Now, the dog will be chasing hard behind this toy. all out and that kind of thing. And one point in time, you'll ask the dog to stop doing this exercise and do something else. A sit, a down, a start, right? You might ask the dog this. So the dog have to use the same energies and effort that you was driving for to do something, some other exercise. So this is what you call capping the drive. So the same energy that the dog is doing this driving exercise for in chasing behind the ball, it will same energy he will do in sit. So you'll see a faster sit, you'll see a faster down, and this kind of thing in that when we cap the drive. Okay, so we go in chasing and then we stop and ball sit. You'll see the dog sit quickly, or you see the dog or a plats, and you see the dog lie down quickly, because the quicker the dog does this exercise, you know that, hey, I'm going to go back into this state that I'm so comfortable with, right? So this is what you call capping the drive. Okay, so I think this is the end. Any questions?
All right, Alan, just before we have any questions, Alan, there's your heads up to
I'm going
Gardy.
on. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the forum open for questions for Kurt.
Good.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
All right. So just to probably add a pinch of salt to the last item you spoke about, which was cap and drive. What it does, the dog is obviously in a high drive and a high state of mind, and the dog has to change that modality to do a different exercise, whether it be sit or plats or whatever. So correct. The capping of the drive also means that mentally the dog has to override the drive to chase or whatever it is doing by listening. So it is a difficult thing to do because the dog naturally wants to chase, is in a high drive and is eager to get the toy. But the dog has to override that drive with thought and listen for the next command or whatever command that will come, and get that same energy redirected into this new command. So capping of the drive means that you can actually stop the drive at that point, but also channel that energy directly into something else. So we teach that to get that fast response from one position or one command to the next. That's why the dog looks so beautiful, being able to respond to the commands, right? But it is all in this game of play and drive. I don't know if that helps to make it a little easier for people to understand.
Cool, nice, yes, correct. Any questions? Good, well, based on that, is that everybody understand everything, or we understand nothing? But
you could ask a question and ask somebody to answer to see if they understand.
Hey, Ole, I had to go. Sorry.
Okay, Lisa.
Okay, Lisa.
I was joking. Aaron wants a question and answer start.
Okay.
Picking on people, I cut.
No, I'm not going to pick on anybody.
Kim has a question. Good.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Kurt. Right, so I know for the grip I know is very, very important. Oops. And the bite, right? And you've already mentioned that one of the strategies is when the bite is not proper to sort of slow down so the dog has an opportunity to fix the bite.
Yeah.
Are there any other strategies we can use to help them develop a good bite systematically?
Well, I don't know that there's any other strategy, because they'll be biting and you'll be fighting, okay? And in the fight, you need to slow it down for that they can readjust. And more you do that, and when they bite, you make them win, then they know that, hey, if I bite proper, I'm able to win. And in their minds, they will think that winning is fun, and this will cause me to win. So once I do this, I win. So that will cause them to always bite proper.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. I was just, Alan is here, so we'll thanks a lot.
Just before we move to Alan, Kyle has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, good. All right. So the thing that stuck out to me the most about the petition was the boundaries part, right? Where you're talking about where you're playing with the dog, you're driving the dog, and then the dog might switch focus, right, onto you, right, instead. So, and actually that's happened with me and Koda a lot. Koda will just be playing or whatever, and I have the rag in front of her, and she not even watching the rag. Now she wanna jump up on me and bite on my hand and stuff. So how now would you create that boundary and let her understand, all right, no, time to focus on the rag, not to focus on me?
Okay. It based on the age of the dog. You do different things, right? Remember, the game is rewarding for the dog. You were there when we talk about negative punishment.
Yeah, I remember that presentation. Yeah.
Okay, good. Stopping the game at that point in time and taking away that play, taking away that game, can work for some dog, right? Some dog you probably reinforce no or already, or 9, them kind of thing you reinforce. So those things is you need to punish in terms of we understand what when I say punish, it doesn't mean that you're being brutal. Okay.
Right. No.
So it means that you stop the game, no play if you are doing this. So we start there. No play if you are doing this. You want to continue to play, this is what you need to bite, and not biting on me or my clothes or that kind of thing. So you start there, and systematically you probably can increase punishment as time progresses, or the age of the dog it requires.
If she not following, yeah.
If she not yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks. Good.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, we'll move. Yeah, we can move on. Oh, Roger, you want to say something? We want to move on to Alan.
I wanted to add a little thing, if perhaps I could add something to what Kit was talking about. And when Kim asked the question about the grips or the bite, and I think it's important to remember the dogs are basically pack animals. And within the pack, there's a reason why there's a rank structure. You don't get to be the big boss, or you don't get to be alpha or top level beta by being weak. You get to be those things by being strong. And we need to probably go back to the pack structure and how we explain the different ranks and what they mean, and how it relates to how they behave within the structure, how it relates to hunting and surviving and everything, because that is fundamental to everything we're talking about here. However, some dogs, as Kurt said, have a genetic grip. In other words, the dog genetically was born with this ability to give a full hard bite, and the dog is in a particular type of drive, because that drive also has a lot to do with how the dog will bite. And that's why I'm referring to the pack and the pack structure. All right. Now, because we're not in the wild and we are trying to achieve certain things, we are trying to replicate behaviors that ought to be expressed in the wild. And the technique, there are 3 or 4 things that affect the way a dog will bite in the training scenario, in the context of what we're trying to talk about. your technique and how you drive the dog. If you're all over the place with Alan was talking about a nice trying to get the dog to drive in a straight line more or less. So that's why we move in a circle as opposed to being all over the place and too much in the air. That is not how the dog will get a natural grip. That doesn't encourage a natural grip and it doesn't promote a natural grip. What promotes a natural grip is that there's a certain degree of frustration from the chasing, and that frustration builds up in the dog, and that causes the dog to apply a little more effort and energy. And if you're chasing something and you realize you have to put out more energy, that frustration that is building up is focused to that when I get this thing, I am going to bite it hard. I'm going to grip on it hard because I don't want to get this thing to get away and I don't want to burn so much energy chasing this thing all the time. So that in your driving technique, you have to manage that and balance that when the dog gets the grip, gets the bite, even if the grip is not perfect, the reason why you allow the dog to rebite is because you would have built up a certain amount of frustration there. And that frustration causes the dog to think, no boy, let me get a better grip. That is what is happening there. The dog understands that I need to get a better grip or I might lose it. Now, consequently, if when the dog does rebite, you do not actively, as Alan was talking about, when the dog or the lion or whoever bites the gazelle or the prey will just faint and go dead. If you do not actively go back into fight, causing the dog by reflex, by nature, by natural instinct to bite them even harder. If you do not create that fight, then the dog has no reason to hold on. And a lot of dogs, because of how their prey drive is built, some dogs will chase a prey, catch it, and once it goes dead, they will let it go because there's no longer anything in it for them. So you have to create that feeling in the dog that I must hold on to this thing, which causes the dog to bite them even harder. Okay? So there's a lot to do with the technique and the methodology you use and that proper driving technique to create that thing. And if your technique is not perfect, oh, well, good, you will have problems with your grip. You will have problems with your grip. If let's say you don't have an absolute genetic grip, because dogs that have an absolute genetic grip will bite anyhow, they want to take it, and then that whole serial possession comes in. So the dog wants to possess it, right? But if I hope I've sort of given him a little bit better explanation there, that your technique has a lot to do with how you build that grip. Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And once you get that, and that game, because it's all part of understands the relationship with the fight and all of that. That dog begins to know, he understands after a while, or she understands after a while, that I must get in there and get a full grip on this thing. All right? And that's how you reward the grip with whether it's voice or body language or whatever. Yeah, that's it. And hence the reason why we don't encourage people continuing to drive the dog or work the dog when the dog does not have a proper grip, because you're telling the dog that that grip is okay, when in fact it's not okay for the purpose that we want, whether it's in real life biting somebody or in the sport that they're going to lose points for having a weak grip, right? That's why when the dog doesn't have a proper grip, we allow the dog to adjust, and when the dog does adjust, getting a proper grip, we mark it and say, yeah, that's it, and we go back into the fight right away with the energy of the animal that is trying to get away, causing the dog to continue with that firm grip. Annie, I hope I was able to shed a little bit of light.
Yeah,
Very
Raj.
much appreciated.
Yes, Raj. Yes, Raj. Good.
Thanks a lot. All right, Alan.
All right. You all seeing and hearing me? Hello?
Yeah, Alan.
You all
Yes.
hearing me?
Yes, yes.
What is the visibility like?
Looking good.
Is it good?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, fully lit.
Okay. So one of the things we was talking about with the relationships, remember in the matrix, the first thing is chase, right? But I talk about a little secret in building the relationship. So what I do is I started cut cue my dog, right to play. Right to good. And then I have her like this. She on me. Good. Right to play. Good. That's it. Good. Moving away from her. Good. Right to play. Good. No toe yet, right? Good. Right to play. Good. Kick. You win. Adjust grip. Good. She don't fall on, she lose it. Good. Right? You can't expect to play soft and have the decoy play hard. Chase again. So if I do change direction, and this dog have a lot of drive. See, she started going to cut. This. Good. Good. Right? Notice I am making some distance, right? When I do this to that, it's not quite the same. The dog does not get to put out power and speed, right? So I make sure my grip is good. She don't bite good. Good. I have her. Good, that's it. Shake. Right? I'll go back for our next rep again. Good, that's it. That's 2 reps. Good, that's it. Good. Pick up my lead. In. Good. Good. Do it again. In. She drop it. I kick it a little bit. Kick it around a little bit. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. In. Good. Good. She coming in. Now to make sure that sometimes she dropping the toy, but she's not going into it, I have her in my arm and I give it a slight tug. Parish, this is in your arms here. She can trust. She can trust. Right? In your arms, right? So we go back. She win. She got to carry her prey, carry her toy around proudly. In. And she got to trust. I do not touch the toy. Right? She drop it. I pull her away from it. Hold on. Right. Kick it. Kick it. Good. Good. Hold on. Okay. Play a little bit. Right? So this is where I've reached with this dog. Right? I have reached where she is coming back into me. And she's choosing to come back into me. Dropping the toy a little bit, so that's where I'm at. But if I turn my back and she's not in front of me, I don't have to use my lead anymore. So if I have to use my lead, this is how I use my lead, right? I get a little fighting. Good. I let her win and I bring her back into my arms, right? With my lead. I let her go out again. Let her go out again. She dropped the toy. Okay. So this is the back and forth thing I told you that don't work good. This, and she have drive. See how confusing it is? Right? If I do this, and I move a little bit, and I move a little bit. Good. You see the entry? The catch, Lisa. That's the catch. Right? So I get shaken. Encourage a little fighting. God, my hand going. Encourage a little fighting. God, my hand going. That's 2 reps. God, that's it. And good girl. Good. My hand supported. Next lecture. Preview to the next lecture on drive. Starting to teach you hold. Starting to teach you follow. But this is the hold here. Good. And then I go back to our side. I do not out my dog in front of her. This is how I out her. Out. Okay. My chicken. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Good. In. Good. Happy. In. Good. In. So she's coming in back into me. Cassie. In. Good. This is the next step here. Good. That's it. Good. Coming back to play. That's it. Now this dog is holding hard. Very hard. In. Good. Coming back to play again. Comfortable with me. Right? She wants to play. She loves the toy, but Cassie. Up. In. Good. She wants to play with me. Right? Good. So look. This is what I'm encouraging. This is how much she loves it. Right? So this is the fight. Fight. Teaching her. Good. that's it. Take lead if she needed the help with the lead. Lead. In, and bring her in. Good. 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 Right? Good. Right? The precursor now, the advanced part is now. Pull. Go back to the in position. Because she's very comfortable with the in. Once my dog starts to show me that she's comfortable in coming back into the in position, I start to do this pull. In. Okay, that's it. Go back into drive again. She's losing it, right? She's losing it. This is like on the ground here. See how much? Now move a little. Look. Notice the entry here. Entry here. The entry here is different to back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. I pray don't move like that. I pray don't run into a dog and jump over there and run back and jump. I pray don't move like that. Pray will move and that, move and that. So, go ahead, girl. There's my praise. Good. This is good. Good. I'm helping her a little bit to fight. You see him fighting? Give her a little pull. Give her a little. Make her a little uncomfortable. Oh, that's it. In, right here. Right? Right there. Right there. Start to produce the back end. To get the back again. Out from the side. Good. In. Good. Good. In. Good. This is the advancement at the end. In. Good. That's it. Good. In. Good. That's it. Good. In. That's it. A little bit of play. Good. In. Good. I am not fighting to the extent that my dog thinks that I am fighting her for the toy and she has to win the toy from me. She's enjoying the wrestling. Good. Good. That's it. That's it. Good. All right. And up. That's it. That's it. In. Good. And this favorite toy. The ball is our favorite toy. As you all know in training is the ball I originally used. I am getting her to love this dog because this is an important tool for me going forward. Right? I have started, like Kurt said, teaching how to release. So I start off with this. Out. Out. Okay. I see active out. I want her to out and I give her a reward right away. Not much conflict, not much correction required. Right? Good. That's how she always wins my shaking. In. Good. That's it. She wants to come back. I turn him back. In. Good. That's it. That's it. Up. Good. That's it. Good. If you're playing with the dog, make it. She's clearly enjoying it, but this is fruitful behavior to me. Remember the dumbbell retrieve. In. Good. In. Up. That's it. Good. Right? Remember the dumbbell retrieve. What we'll be doing for the dumbbell retrieve. What we'll be doing for the dumbbell retrieve. Asking the dog to hold, right? So watch. In. So a little issue with her is that she's dropping it a little too fast. So this is what I'm doing. She comfortable with the in. I do a little bit of this. Slide tugging. Not fighting, eh? Slide tugging. Remember the dumbbell retrieve, right? Pull. Good. Pull. Good. All that time imprinting right away, right? Pull. Good. Up. That's it. That's it. Up. Good. Let me start back again. She is bringing back her toy to me. Bringing back. And she's not lacking desire, right? Not lacking desire at all. So another thing I do is to get her to back. I use two different commands. One is a backing command for me, and one is a backing command towards something outside. So out, 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 out. Good out. Good out. Good. I use gibble out to back for me. So eventually for food and anything I have, I use gibble out. And then what we will be doing on each stage. So in. Good. Out. Hold on. Hold on. Good. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Good. Okay. That's it. always full. You know, a lot of fighting. Try for a full bite. Good, that's it. Make her adjust a heli collar, put back pressure on a heli collar for this dog at this stage. With your puppies, you want to build a full bite all the time. I am still working for that. I'm getting a full bite on the bite pillow, but not always on the top. Right? But if I bring on the bite pillow, I am getting a full bite. All right? So again, anything anybody want to see, now is the time to ask. Open up.
Alan, for me, I think it's just the float pole. In terms of, huh?
What you want to ask about the float pole?
Right. Could I do the same kind of thing with the float pole? I know, yeah, we'll tug on it, she'll fight, and then I go limp as well. But like, I see you kind of holding her up. You're using the tug and you're kind of pulling her up. You know, I could still do that with the float pole. I should maybe just use a different.
How hard your dog is biting.
Yeah.
You have to get her to bite hard first. So I had to do this. I had to do this with my dog first in the early as a little puppy. Right? I had to do that first. I just reached a different place now. Right?
Right.
So you see, I get in hard grip. Okay, I make her adjust. I get in that kind of fight. And good. I get in that kind of fight. So I have no problem. And she wants to come and bring it back and play. I've reached that place, but I didn't start at that place. I started like this. Bringing her, she will run all out there. I have to bring her back in and keep herself ahead of the dog. Right? So what I do is I keep myself ahead. So I run the dog wants to run all day, but I am like here and I bring her back in. And I never touch the toy. I never touch the toy. You could put into my arms and rest. I do it 5 times. That's one. In. Or she drop it. Right. So I get a little bit of playing again. This is real here. Right? Dog is not perfect. I'm working on it. This is what I would do.
Right.
Yeah, like this. In. Good. Go again. Run with it. Notice I'm ahead of her. In. Good. If I keep doing that, the dog starts to understand thing. Once she starts to come back into me good, all the time. So if I start turning my back and saying, in, and she starts doing that, that tells me we're at the stage where we could start to fight a little bit. When she comes to me, I could tell her in and give her a little fight and then come back again. In, a little fight, and then come back again. In, a little fight, and then go back again. In, a little fight, she shake, go back again. That's how I build that behavior for her coming back into me. Then, you all remember with my Doberman, I remember somebody was saying how the Doberman puppy I had used to jump up on me a lot. And somebody was saying, well, you know, I have to cut out that eventually. No, I don't have to cut it out. I just had to put a command to it. Like this. He was already doing it. He was slamming back into me because I imprinted him as a puppy. I didn't get her as a puppy. So, with her, I had to build the behavior. How I build the behavior? From in my arms like this, to then in like this, to then you have to jump up and feel her like this. And eventually she remembered the up, up, good. Play with her a little bit of fight. It was all a process. Kurt just talk about it every time. I think every session, Kurt has used the term training. Right?
Yeah,
so shoot the question. You understand, Kyle? Anything else I should say?
No, that is it for now. Thanks.
You are the phase where you building drive on the ground.
Right.
That is where the phase you at. So you chasing, you refining it, getting more desire to chase, and making her catch properly and adjust her bite. That is where you at. Of course, you want to break the rules. Once you reach the stage where she's winning the toy, you have to get her in, start to get her in your arms. So get her accustomed to coming in your arms and holding onto the toy. If she's dropping it, you do what I did. In my arms, slight tug on the toy, slight tug. Just enough for them to want to do this. Just enough for them want to squeeze down a little bit.
Squeeze on harder. Right? All right. I get you. Thanks.
Questions?
Alan, Lisa want to know how old the dog is.
Joseph, how old this dog is?
Joseph leave.
All right.
To leave.
I think Dareem there. She's about 16 to 18 months.
That's good, Lisa.
Yeah, I would tell her.
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks.
Cody.
Hi. Yes, seeing something that you're doing already, and I need to do that with Storm because that is a problem I'm having with her. You see how Cassie, she still wants, she's able to want to come back to you. I've always had that problem with Storm, and I still have any conflict. So that's something I'm definitely going to be doing.
That's why I said in the Matrix, because I didn't always have that. She didn't always want to come back to me. I made her come back into my arms so many times that she realized, hey, this is actually a good thing to do. That's before we start back fighting. So when you start bringing back your dog into your arms, you can't bring her back into fight. She has to first trust to come into your arms first. Once she trusts coming into your arm, and again, the dog will always tell you when they're ready to move on. That's why I am not one to rush. You always see me back and forth on that, the trainers, because I don't like to rush. I like the dog to tell me more or less, hey, I'm ready to move on. And I like the dog to convince me that I'm ready to move on. Sometimes I may try and push a little thing to teach them something or to put something in their head, just to, to kind of like grow a plant a seed. But I like the dog to tell me, hey, I'm ready to move on. And once Cassie started, once I was able to turn my back and she was coming around into me, because I was using it, even that, I was using it to show her how to come into my arms all the time, right? Once she started showing me that, then I started not using the lead and she coming back into me. And then after I started with a little fight and then come back in. A little fight, come back in. But at that stage, she was so accustomed coming back into my arms, the toy. But again, you have to build it that way. High prey drive dogs have the tendency to get possessive, which is okay, but you have to control that possessiveness. So you have to be careful with how much you fight with the dog.
Yeah, that's the same problem I was having from long time, basically, from the beginning of training with her. Because she has such a high drive, she always wants to possess it and go away. Now she will come back, but not with the speed that I would like. So that is something I definitely need to do. So the same way you were saying, you need to build it by running them in the circle, allowing them to win, make them feel comfortable, allow them to trust you. So that is something I still building with her. And that's a mistake I was making. When I would call her back into me, I would engage in the fight again, which I realized now is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'll have to stop doing that and build trust.
There's a time for that, but your dog should be comfortable coming back into your arms. And like I said, it's not the matter of your dog having a high prey drive. Cassie has a high prey drive. I don't know how you would compare the two, but I am telling you, Cassie has a very high prey drive. But I have done it so much that that is all she know now, to come back into me. Now, again, I will put it a further test by throwing it out further. I'll throw it out here tonight and see how she behaving, because I'm showing you how I'm building my natural retrieval. I'm teaching her to hold a little bit for 2 seconds, then I'm going back to her side. Hold, then going back to her side. Eventually, I might tell her to come in. When she come back into me, I might tell her in and then tell her hold. And she will just hold it there, right? And that's how I build out my behavior. So by the time I reach my retrieve, I would have imprinted 50 to 60% of the behavior already. All right. I do jump. I teach jumping as a separate exercise. So what would have happened in your training is that we would not have done enough and stressed enough the fact that bringing her back into your arms and doing repetitions with it. So after a chasing exercise where she chase and catch, you could bring her back into your arms 3 times. To build repetition, you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And once you're doing that, you keep doing that again, ensure that she's holding on to the toy. You see the problem with my dog, she's dropping it. So I have to be mindful now. When she comes into my arms, like the second or third time, give a slight tug on the toy so she understand, still hold on to it. Again, same thing we're talking about with that dead prey, right?
Okay,
So
yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Lisa, I have a question, Alan.
Lisa.
And the ream confirm is 23 months. She is.
Oh, 23. Well, look at that. To be honest, I haven't been training much. Good, Dareem, good to have you in the chat, man. Good night.
Yeah, Alan.
I think Lisa's supposed to come in.
Alan, Stephen, yeah.
Stephen, good night. I think you'll leapfrog Lisa, but all right.
Yeah, good night. Oh, sorry, I'll hold on.
No. Well, Lisa didn't
I'm
come
here,
forward.
you know. I'm here. I was waiting on my turn. Yeah.
Yes,
I see that you're using, and I heard you mention it earlier, you're using the lead in the play to build the drive. But when we've had the session so far with the pups, we weren't using the lead in encouraging the play, for example, with the flute pole and that type of thing. And in our play sessions with Fidel, even if we use a Kong toy or ball or something, we don't really use the lead. So I don't know if what we've done was wrong, and we should correct it by always using the lead now to bring him back to us. Now he naturally comes back,
Right, exactly.
to us, but
We saw it in the last
of course, you know,
session.
it's slow. It's a slower game.
Yeah, but he was naturally coming back, right? So that was the
Always,
beauty with him. Now we
yeah.
don't know after a while as he matures, because remember he going through a rapid development stage. Every
Right.
month you see a different dog. At least for me as a trainer, I am seeing a different dog. Sometimes after like the last session, Fidel was a different dog to me in my eyes because I not seen him as often. But that was, and I lamented on the beauty of him coming back to you naturally. Some dogs, based on your relationship, again, going back to what Ajamu talked about, that is the importance of those things. And some dogs naturally will come back to you because, again, his prey drive may not be as high, so he don't mind coming back to you with it. He's not as possessive. He don't mind. But
Correct.
the reason why we didn't really focus too much
Yeah.
on putting lead on the puppies is because we would just, at the first part of the matrix, building out that intensity to chase.
Okay.
If you remember, that's what we were really doing, catching, and then we did
Right.
tell you, okay, let him bite full. And the thing with Fidel wasn't biting actively just yet. So when we reach the third part, where we want him to fight, it wasn't so active. So we was working on that, and there were times when we told you all, nah, Rich, he didn't have to run around here, but put it once he win, go in his arms one time, right? So you get him used to that type of behavior.
So start using the lead now for these sessions.
You could let him drag around the lead in prey drive, but the focus for Fidel at his age, and that's why Kurt will work his puppy, is we want him to be chasing hard and committing to the toy. That
Okay.
means part of the matrix we push. That is our focus. The
All right,
beauty with him is that he was coming back to you with it. So okay, that was an added benefit. But that wasn't the main goal. Because if he's not chasing hard, it means that he may not bite down hard or fight. And you're not even reaching a place where you could bring him back in your arms, because as you pull on the lead, he might drop it. Or he may lose interest. So you don't want to go down there and not get the result. You have to be getting the results to be able to move on.
I understand. Thanks.
Right? I think we have Stephen.
Yeah, and good night again. I saw the mistake I was making up to today, which is actually bringing back in the dog in the wrong technique. I like that technique you used there. It's very effective. Where you're going ahead of the dog, because I started to also get that possession issue is something that is really serious on my head.
Don't get me wrong, it's a good problem to have. It's better the dog a little possessive than disinterested.
Yeah, but I really seeing is believing, because the theory all came together tonight, this afternoon. But you know, we spoke about it in the past, but actually seeing it and you discussing it now, I really get it now. It's just to get it into action now, to actually get those motor skills going and the repetition, you know. So I'm very, very happy for what you did.
I would definitely have to use my dog. I would be the first to admit that I should be further along with this dog, but I am not behind.
Kim has a question.
Like you straight talk for Roger boy.
I just want to second what Stephen. I just want to second what Stephen said. It's exactly. I mean, I put in the chat. I'm going to look at this video 100 times, Alan, over and over again, because it is packed. It's packed with all kinds of nuances and things that you're doing that, as Stephen says, brings the theory that you all have been trying to drill into our heads, the concepts, the fundamentals, the principles, you know, the theory, all of that. This video, to me, I look at it as a video one time. I will, in fact, I will extract it if that's okay with you all.
I was thinking of extracting telling you to extract the dry part video. But I'm going to make it over any day. I'm thinking this is just a, you know.
Oh, okay.
You all saw it good, right? You all saw it in good timing.
Perfect. Because I'm so happy you pay
electricity bill, because that really helped us a lot. Well, the thing is, what I did, what happened with me is that where upstairs is where the router is for the Wi-Fi, and When I came downstairs, it never worked. So I just used my phone. I downloaded it on my phone. So I'm using Zoom from a phone this time and not my laptop. And I'm using data instead of Wi-Fi. So apparently it's a little more reliable in this case.
Right.
I have to say though, before Tony goes, is that we have Lexi here, and she keeps.
You want to trade?
She keeps bringing the ball to me and pushing it into me for me to play with her for the whole session.
Well, that's testimony to the good work you're doing. That means that your dog is.
We're looking for that for a little while now.
We're working on it in oblique, indirect ways, like Kurt says, in terms of the chaining. So she never understood that that's what we're working towards.
She doesn't feel like she's being forced into doing something.
She's knocking on the back of my chair.
Yeah.
Knocking on the back of my chair. And 3 times actually, the ball went under one of the desks in the study. Yeah. And she came to me as if to say, come and help me take out this ball. So 3 times I went and I took it out, you know. So
Kim, what does that tell you? Based on the lecture we had, what does that say to you with regard in the terms that we use today?
Well, I mean, what it tells me is that everything that you have been saying is so true. I mean, the big thing about, there's so many things. The big thing about it is the win. Right now, tonight, when Kurt started the aus command, the out, as he says, I started during the video, during the recording, the session, I introduced the term aus to Lexi for the first time ever. Because you all had told us don't do that. So I introduced the term. She never heard it before tonight. And so what I'm doing now, she brings the ball and I say aus, I take it and I give it to her immediately. And she's just coming back and coming back and coming back.
Right? Here's the thing with the aus. The aus is a drive capping exercise. However, the only way to bring power to the out is if you make a back or you restrain her and kick away the toy, or you move it immediate. So be careful with introducing the out. And there was a reason why, because we thought Lexi's drive wasn't like explosively high at that point in time. So we thought, you know what, let's not cap the drive and let's not, and at the time you were doing a lot of little experimenting home in the earlies. So our advice would have simply been, don't do out.
Yes.
Technically, it's not a matter not doing out at all. It's just understanding the right time to do it and at what level to do it. Like you notice, Cassie does not do a clean out, and I don't care to get a clean out. She understands what it means. I free shape it a bit. I use a little bit of pressure, but the main thing is I'm getting, as soon as she out, she's actively going back at it hard because the prey starts to move. Or when I do it on the ground, I tell her forehand and she starts to back.
Well, when I've been taking it out now, I take it out, I say out, and immediately
you're asking for the out. If she's coming back to you, don't ask.
Look, right? Check, right?
I would, for Lexi, I would play with her most of the time when she comes back to me and ask her to keep coming back to play. So she starts pushing into you to play and not expecting to out, because eventually she'll come, bring the toy there and drop it. And as a matter, and what you get there is a drop and drive. And that is not what you want for this 6-7 month old puppy at this stage.
So
some
she
puppies,
tried it a few times.
home there that was extreme in drive. He's had a few dogs that extreme in drive. You could afford to do it because they are maniacs. If you know your dog is not that, don't do it. You know, because you're gonna spoil the end product. You're gonna affect your end product, or you're gonna have to do more. I want when you tell your dog out in power, waiting to fly back and grip like a mad lady, or she out and start to back and bring power to me one time to thing it. I don't want her out in like a pet and then lying down and rolling over and lying down and tapping her drive and her drive is dead and waiting for you to pick it up, then to throw it. I don't want that at this stage with that dog. I want where, like how I have it. You saw how I was doing it in my hand, right? Out and then she fly back and hit it hard.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I prefer do that 10 times than make her out and drop it. I would choke her off and she getting accustomed to the choke off now. So she would out, but she would start to back, or I will kick it away and put her into more drive and let her fly and get it. So again, I change up what I do. I don't, every time I choke her off while the toy is on the ground, I don't ask her to back. Sometimes I kick it away and put her back into pre-drive, restrain her and let her fly behind it and get it. I treat her like I am developing my dog. Yeah. Regardless of the age, I am looking at where my dog is at, and I want my dog to do everything in power. I don't want my dog to ever dip in drive. because remember, when I take off my lead, and Roger just talk about that, when you take off your lead and you don't have any ball under your arm or in your pocket, what do you have? All you have is the memories that you've built in the dog, and that is a reflection of the relationship you have with the dog. That's why I start off the way I start off with Cass. I use some keywords, I push her around a little bit, and when she starts to get into my face, eventually she start barking, then the toy comes out. And I might pull out the toy, make her miss twice, put it back in my pocket, and ask for the same behavior again. Again, I in the gym, I looking for reps. I looking to build muscle memory and brain memory.
Yes.
All right.
Alan.
Yes.
Let me add something there. All right. So, if you have a dog that is overly possessive, you must work with the dog in your arms a lot, and you can do some of the outing, right? The house. But the house is a dangerous exercise that if you overdo it, you have problems later on down the road with your dumbbell retrieve and stuff like that. The last thing you want is your dog going, bringing the dumbbell and dropping it at your feet while you're in front of a judge.
Roger,
Yeah.
a man just take out a intestine from somebody's stomach and come back on it, group. I just let you know.
Yeah, them fellas. That's the nature of dog training, you know.
You like to train dog, boy? I
Chris,
just
you
hope
would love it. Chris, I miss you. You would have loved it. I thought of you the whole time.
But what I'm saying, I hope the person gets stitched back up properly, my brother. Sorry, Roger. Sorry for interrupting you. Continue.
Yeah, I hope the person is alive and well too. Anyhow, that exercise has a lot to do with the nature and temperament of the dog that is in front of you. It's not a one-size-fits-all for every
Exactly.
dog. What happens is that when dogs are very possessive, you will see on the field that I would make somebody work with a second toy to bring the dog back, because the dog normally gets the first toy when you pelt it out, and then the dog does not want to come back. So you make the dog use a second toy, you pull it out, and the dog has a desire to come to you for it. And by faking as though you're going to pelt the ball out, throw the ball out, the dog will drop the ball, and you use the word out there to reinforce the command, and hopefully the dog, getting to love the game, gives up or relinquishes some of that possessive nature, some of that possessiveness. But once you had the out and an understanding, you want to be getting the dog to come back to be in your arms. So the dog is comfortable without you needing a second toy, going to get the first one and coming back to you, or whether it's the tug or any other thing that you're using anyhow. And you want to use the house and the plats are two commands that you don't overdo. Because the same way when you see the dog, you're taking too long to give the dog command, a lot of dogs will go down in a plats. Simply because the dog believes, because you say it so much, the dog believes it's coming, in anticipation, the dog does it. And again, you don't want to do that in front of a judge, you lose a match. So you have to be careful how you manage these things, but it has to do with the dog that is in front of you, the level of possessiveness that the dog has, and how you break that down to get the dog back feeling comfortable with you and building that desire for the dog to come back to you with something. You see Alan in his demo there already trying to shape the whole question of the dog keeping the grip with him in front of the dog, because he understands that down the road, when that dog goes out for the dumbbell and comes back, that dog must come in quickly. That's why he's building the dog jumping at him, coming in quickly. The dog must come in quickly, sit in front of him, and maintain a firm grip on that dumbbell until he places his hand there and waits a few seconds and says out. That's the only time. And that time, the out is a very powerful, fast release. Okay? So always remember working towards some kind of goal. And a lot of these things, there are a lot of subtleties and nuances that we have to manage as we go along. So we have to be careful with these little things.
And Roger, to add to what you're saying, your second ball come like your lead in this case, and the coming back into your arms is like the foundation of your retrieve, natural retrieve.
Correct.
Right? So that is where you're building, could talk about building all the different things. I just showing you how I do it, right? How you could, I mean, if you have the vision, it's not hard to see down the road where I will make all those behaviors possible. The problem is if you still having that, if you reach down the road there and you still having that problem and that dog don't want to bring back anything to you, you now have a whole set of other training to do. I'm not saying it's not possible, because once a dog is like that, you know it have a lot of drive, free drive, but it's now encouraged. It now you now have to do a lot of work with pressure, and that is another balancing act that requires a lot of experience. So if you could avoid that, right, you will still get speed, you will still get everything, but at least you wouldn't have to go through that part of the work. Trust me, we've done it already. There's a lot. That same black dog Kurt had me working there. I made all the mistakes with that dog. It turned out to be a good dog. She has exceptional drive. I have never worked a dog with that kind of drive since. But because of the way we built the work, it was difficult at times. It was very difficult. Roger Nick could testify that sometimes she just will not out. You could do what you want.
I have a quick question. Sometimes when we work in Lexi with a bite pillow, she wouldn't pull back if we move in back. She wouldn't pull back and shake, you know, she would just follow us. What it is they're doing wrong?
Well, first of all, maybe you need to definitely build more desire and more frustration, right? Because I'm sure that tells me that maybe her grip is not as hard as it should be, because a hard biting dog most times will have some fight in them. So you need to build more frustration, more desire, maybe not get her.
Raise her foot off the ground.
Yeah, well, that's the next step to remember. Before you even give her the bite, you have to build frustration too. You know what I mean? So back tie her. And then once you actually do give her the bite, you have to make her a little bit uncomfortable. But at that stage, she's biting hard. So she will now do something to get that toy in her possession. And she will try to get back herself comfortable, as you say. So you raise the 2 foot off the ground, which I did with my dog.
Well, Alan, if the dog feels that she will lose the tag or the pillow or whatever, because you will rip it out of her mouth if she's not holding on to it properly, she very well will understand that she must grip down very hard.
Exactly.
You see, for you as the handler, you want the dog to bite every time. You think that you're doing something good, but the reality is you have to try to rip that thing out into the dog's mouth and let the dog understand, brother. If you don't hold on to this, you don't get it. I don't give it. I'm not feeding you. You have to take it. You have to dominate it. And that builds that drive, that builds the frustration, that causes the dog to grip down harder, and then the dog will fight for it, because the dog thinking now that you're going to rip it out, the dog will resist. So it's a reverse psychology and that you have to use in order to build that aspect of it. I mean, these things are very subtle things, eh? And don't feel bad about it, because listen, it takes us how much ever years. It's about how much, I mean, I can't remember.
A lot of years, a lot of dogs.
Right? The point about it is we didn't learn this, or we didn't get this thing overnight, you know. We didn't pull this and cut and paste this thing, right? This is something that costs hundreds of thousands and probably $1 million or more dollars to learn, right? So the point about it is, don't feel badly about it. It's an experience, it's a learning curve, and you have to go through it. I'm glad we have this forum where we can raise the issues. And as we always say in the beginning, you may start off with a very, very good dog. But by the time we are finished with you in another couple of months or whatever it is, you can take a dog of lesser quality and go further than this very good dog that you had. Simply because the problem is not the dog, the problem is always us. We are the ones who have to learn and understand and create this delicate balance of all these different things that we have to understand and project that in a way and develop a technique in training the dog. All right, so you know that is just what it is. That is just how it is.
Don't be too anxious, Tony, as well too, to complete the whole matrix. Let the dog tell you when it's ready. So you notice with Cassie, for the first time, the first couple bites, I pull it out of her mouth because I pull in hard and you ain't biting down hard. So you lose it.
Alan, if I'm to interrupt you again, Tony and Kim's dog on the field in front of you is biting like a criminal.
Of course, and barking hard too, barking real good. The last session, impressed the hell out of me.
it comes down to technique and stuff when the dog is with them, because the relationship is different as opposed to when she's in front of the helper, as opposed to with them. So that's where they have to really work and reinforce the technique.
And that's what I say, don't be so back tie her more, build frustration, you know, things like that. Because remember when she working with me, she always back tie, you're always holding the lead. That in itself is a way of building drive, because there's a frustration level building there. And I make her miss a lot. So she realized she's not fast enough, she's not strong enough, and she's always trying to meet up to the challenge. To better her position in that situation is try to bite down on what I have. So she's going hard at it.
Well, actually, if I could share very quickly, I know it's late, but if I could share very quickly a bad experience I had this week. We started back with the back tie, because as I told you, we used to back tie all the time, and then we stopped and we just been doing the free stuff. So I wanted to try to build more drive by back tying again. So back tie the dog, and I gone with the pillow, the same pillow you have, the same kind of pink thing with the handles, right? And I doing what Roger said, flick like a wet towel, right? So I flick in and I flick in, man. And I flick and hit the dog in her face. So I slap her in her face.
You're correct for doing it.
So exactly, it's terrible. So immediately I started panic, because I think, well, she's going to stop this. She's going to say, I ain't doing this again. But she recovered and she went back at it. Blah, 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 you know.
Well, that's good. But notice the video with when Harris took with his Frank was in front and I was working Chris dog. You notice how I was moving the dog to the side of the dog, whipping it to the side, then whipping it to the right side, and whipping it to the left side. So the dog actually has to turn a bit to bite. Right? So again, it's about technique and all of that. And again, that's something you develop over time, but you know, we want to make you mindful of it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody.
Right?
Chris has his hand up for a while.
Chris, yeah.
Yeah. That I wish I had seen it, but I'll watch it back. But I just wanted to say, it's something that you have to actually do to understand it.
Yep.
And as Roger was saying, when the faster you move your hand, I realize the harder he gonna grip on it, or your dog, he or she. That snapping motion is really to get that technique, to get a real hard bite. Because I worked with him last night and I move a little bit faster. Like he was gripping so much harder on pulling it. It's just to get him to that level.
Well, you're coming to, you know, you're effectively working your dog, and as you say, it takes some practice, but it takes know-how. So you have to apply the tool. That is why I said I would go on the go, but I would bring up the things after. And so yeah, in real time, what I do, the little issues I have in, where I reach, what I trying to do. I mean, if I want to show you all how I do the out again, if you want. I don't know if anybody want to see anything in particular, but let me know, because now is the time.
Yeah. I think that the next thing is that possessiveness is a big problem I had, as everybody would have seen, with throwing the ball, and the biggest difference is making him want to come into you and not attacking, not touching the ball at all.
And the only way to make him want to do it is if he has to trust and be comfortable.
Yeah, that you're not gonna take it away.
Exactly. Third slide said it, and I said it. I seen somebody coming in. No. Anybody other questions? Aaron, we have any questions?
No, that's it for questions there. So if you want to go ahead and show the retrieve with it, that's no problem.
Anybody wanted to see anything over?
Oh, everything? I just joke.
We're going to look at everything over and over.
And once you instant replay and things.
Alan?
Yes.
Demonstrate how how the drive is different with moving back and forth over the dog head. They may see us doing it sometimes on the field, but they don't necessarily understand. So you need to demonstrate that and then go into showing how driving the dog properly in a continuous motion builds the drive head and causes the dog to launch and commit.
Commit, yeah.
Right? I think that is critical for everybody.
The first part of the matrix, the chase, how to chase, right? Right. So some of y'all was doing flipping it back, left to right, left to right, left to right, right? So that's it. So y'all was doing this, and then 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 this. But that does not work. This is what you want to do. This is what you want to do. Good. Right? With regards to the out, I was doing several things. So, okay, backing my arms in. Good. In. Good. Up. Good. Good. Not much fighting here, Tony. I'll try to get the fight. I'll make her even more comfortable. Oh, that's it. Sometimes I even bring her back on her legs in, right there, right? So one of the ways I do the release is like this. Up. Make her back. Good. That's it. Sometimes I kick it out and I let her get it. Good. Good. That's it. Back into me. Again, because that's where we reach. Good. Sometimes, now, I started doing it out recently like this. So that's it. House. 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 Give out. House. Give out. Give out. Give out. Okay. Again, sometimes, Kim. Kim.
Yep, I'm here.
Sometimes again, house. And let her get it.
Yes.
Right? And I don't want tapping on the drive at all. I don't want that thinking of shit. Well, I'm waiting on me to tell me what to do now. No.
Right.
I want that immediate reaction. So it's either I do out, out.
Alan.
Okay. Right? Let's put it. And I make up. Again, this is driving in. Good. Good. Good.
Alan.
Right?
Alan?
Yes.
Alan. All right. So I think there's another little point I would like to reinforce here. Remember, every dog is different.
Yeah, I can put back the dog.
Huh?
I can put back the dog, right?
Yeah, you can put back the dog. I would like you to hear what I have to say though.
Okay.
Stay there now. Stay there.
Yeah, I'll stay here.
Right.
It's on my phone so I can walk.
So I want everybody to understand that every dog is different. The level of drive, and you see that first lecture on drives, we have to go back to that. It's very critical. Not every dog has the same level of drives. So one dog may have a higher level of prey drive and a lower level of defense drive as compared to another dog. It may have a higher level of rank drive as compared to another dog, and so on and so on. If you have to compare your dog to Kim's dog, right? Because a lot of times people are looking and they want to implement the same thing. And you are relieving stress very often there with your dog because your dog needs that. Some dogs don't need that as much, but it's always important to relieve stress. Like when you let her out it by holding her up, and then you kick it out and release her. That's a big stress relief there for her. She's not working under any stress at that point. Whereas just before that, you may have had her working and you're trying to do it with the least amount of stress. But remember, the nature of the dog may be such that she might be naturally a little higher in maybe prey, and then possibly her nerves might be as strong, let's say, as Kim's dog, and so on. So again, this cannot happen overnight for everybody, but there are a lot of things at play all at once in each dog. Each dog is somewhat unique, right? But in general, these are the things we're talking about. But that's why, we can't train this over the internet forever. Actually, the majority of it has to be done directly on the field, because it's at that point in that moment where a lot of things can be fixed and we have to deal with each dog individually. You understand what I'm saying, Alan? You didn't hear me.
You're on mute, Alan.
Yes, 100%. I was listening to you all the way. I just mute my mic because I went to put back my dog in the kennel and the other dogs would have been barking.
Right.
But
So
yeah,
the reason why I raised that is because I see the issues that Kim is speaking about with her dog, and other people may have similar concerns or interests. And what they're looking at when you work with your dog, if they don't necessarily understand the difference in the nerve level, drive levels of each dog or their dog as opposed to your dog, they could not see something, they could miss something. But it is important to understand, regardless of the dog, it is important to have the dog working as stress-free as possible, right? You notice Alan, because the dog was dropping the toy at times, not gripping properly at times, Alan has to build even more frustration and more drive. So the dog has to naturally be a little more under stress to get what he wants. But then he has to release that stress or relieve that stress by kicking it out and stuff like that to give the dog a free thing. He has to do a lot more in your arms. He has to do different things, and then he has to get the dog comfortable coming back to him and so on. So there's a lot. Alan hasn't been working with this dog. Admittedly, he hasn't been working with this dog as he should have been or consistently. So Alan is trying to give a demonstration of something there, and at the same time still deal with the dog in front of him that he has to train. And maybe everybody wouldn't see what for example, I am saying, but he's also working, trying to fix certain issues there as he's dealing with it, which he cannot necessarily explain while he's doing it. He made a very good attempt until they say, okay, she drop it now or whatever. And then why he is positioning his body in one direction as opposed to the next, and then trying to get him to jump up on it.
Roger, I showed too that what I was doing is holding the tip of the dog while she was in my arms and putting slight pressure.
Yeah.
So I am developing. If you go back, right, what we was talking about is that for a long period of time with my dog, and that's why I told Tony not to rush, I was doing a lot of chasing, catching, and just win. I wasn't even trying to get too much of a fight because I didn't have the desire I want and the chasing energy I wanted initially. So it was just, you all would have seen me like a man every day coming on the field, drive, catch, swing the dog, do all kind of thing, walk the dog on how, drive, catch again, drive, catch, drive, and then I go back up my dog. Several times I came on the field and that's all I did. And I don't know if she don't know sit yet, she don't know sit on flats yet, right? But I started the box work, so she will do it with the pressure points, but she don't know it as a command yet. But I know in time, I mean, like I said, I'm not behind. The behaviors I building in with the game, which is the most natural thing for the dog, will help me accelerate along the road. So with Tony,
and also that reinforces my point. Each dog is different.
Yeah, that is exactly the same point you're making here.
Good. I want everybody to get that, and especially to let everybody know, do not get frustrated if you're not seeing the same result as somebody else with their dog and that kind of thing all the time. We have to understand the nature of every dog as an individual, and we will work with each person and their dog, and we will get them to where they have to get. Sometimes we have to, as Alan is saying, do certain things only for a little while, get that fixed, get that built up, and that gives us the platform to move forward, right? It does not necessarily make sense trying to get everything done. Trust me, you're going to regret it in the end, okay?
Jonathan has a question.
All right, good night, everyone. Yeah, man, good night. Yeah, so now I was listening. Yeah, I was taking in everything. And one of the things I was listening to is the clear drive, right? So where you have a clear path for the dog to follow, right? So more straight lines, etc., etc. But I have a little puppy there, and the little puppy, he is ingenious because he predicts the path and he will cut the path short to cut off the prey moving object before it could get past him. So in my training him, I have to change it up a little bit because he predicts too well and catches it. In that case, what you would suggest?
The part that you're taking with him moving the toy is not straight enough, because if he understand that when you reach the end of your body, you turning around you, or you going out, you spinning around in the next direction. When you go far right, he know you're making about turn right and then going back. You may not think, but the puppy worked that out already, which is normal behavior, right?
Yeah.
So if you continue making a few steps in that direction and the dog has to chase, he will continue chasing it.
Good. All right, nice. I just wanted to.
You doing it, you don't realize, it's your
Right.
mistake.
Right.
That's the natural thing to do.
Yeah.
If you realize after you reach a certain and your arm extend a certain way, you bring it back in the next direction. You cut through your leg or whatever and get.
Yeah.
He already seen how your arm moving. So when he see that upper movement of your arm, he knows to cut in that direction.
Right. So he moving off from a body movement.
Yeah, that's for your body language.
All
No
right,
other
cool.
way.
Right, nice.
You
Just
can't read
checking.
your mind telepathically. So
Yes,
here's
I
your
know.
body language. Remember, a dog is a hunter. A hunter has to be observing all the time.
Yeah.
Right? They observe, they receive information with their nose instinctually, and then after they watch. That is how they hunt. They have to watch patterns.
All right. Nice. I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Good to have you on the group.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Also, Alan, it's good that your dog wasn't polished before you did this.
No, she far from polished.
Yeah, it is good. So at least people will see the different mistakes and that kind of thing, and what you did to try to correct, right? As Roger was saying, we seeing the correction you're making and that kind of, we can appreciate what you're doing to make the correction, and not all the time you could explain it, but we are seeing it. So it was good that the folks here not seeing a well-polished dog and doing everything correct and that kind of thing. Yes, you understand. So it is very good that that dog wasn't polished so at least people could see the progression, right? Because the start of your driving, it wasn't as good as coming down to the end.
Yeah.
Understand? So you see the correction you make, and then the correction the dog make also.
I didn't train in more than a week, and she come out thinking she just coming out in the yard. She didn't realize what's going on yet. And normally I do food work with the dog. So I do food work, and then after I do a little bit of drive. So she thinking, well, food coming, probably, or she just come on for a walk. So mentally, she wasn't even there. It's only as she started chase, as you say, after a few misses and all of that, then you start to see, and that is the honest behavior. I showed you this is where I am at. And what I tried to do, even though she jumping up, she reached the stage where she jumping up into me, I started showing her how to use the lead to bring the dog back in, and then how to, when your dog started coming, its own, turn your back and see the dog coming in, test to see the dog ready to move on, and then start to tell the dog to come up on you a little bit. How to start the plane a little bit when the dog coming back to you, and things like that. So I still try to take you the steps of my journey so far, and I ain't reached, as you say, I ain't polished. I'm not there yet. There's a part two to this, but I can't even show you with my dog because I'm not even there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
So part of the part two, you saw tonight with the dog jumping up on my chest to play. But the other part of part two is the whole command to get that really good. I could tell you one time is the switching of the two drives, the barking from barking at me to barking at something outside of me. I want the dog to be able to be proficient in switching those two things. I want the dog to hold it for a longer period of time. And then when we start to fight on the command, the dog start back to fight and things like that. So I have more work to do. I'm hoping you all really encouraging me and motivating me to train. It may sound bad as the trainer, but sometimes that is the energy that the enthusiastic student brings. Because remember, I am still a student of the game. I still learning, and I train in a dog right now. So I behave like a student. So I watch YouTube videos just like you all. We may pull out different things from the videos, and we may apply them differently because based on my experience. But I in the same boat more or less. So don't despair. And as Curtis always say, train on. You know, train on. Kurt, yeah, your puppy coming out, you're bringing out your puppy to do all the thing? Like you mute your mic, boy.
Talking to him and my mic off, yes?
Yeah.
Muted.
Yeah, I realize
Yeah, I could. I watching time though, but I could.
Bring out them more than 5 minutes. You know why? This is for the people who have the little Rottweiler puppies and thing.
It mightn't be so long because I don't really work my dog for 5 minutes, really.
But when I say it could take you 5 minutes to take him out, do it and put him back.
Yeah.
But just
Well, actually, it might take about that because I will show people first how because it's the float pole and how it's done before right. So
yeah.
You can talk in the meantime. I'm trying to get my phone, so I will
sort yourself.
How come nobody answering me whether it's a short nose or a long nose dog?
I didn't see that.
It's good. It has to be a long nosed dog. I mean, that's understood.
we don't say nose, it's mouth.
Snout.
My bad.
Snout.
So so I mean, I don't know if Aaron has any remarks. Aaron, you have any remarks?
Well, actually, I'm waiting for everything to finish, and
all right,
I will end it off.
Mark off when Gaston.
Mark not here. Mark not on. Yeah.
Terran there?
Yeah, Terran on.
Terran, you have any remarks to make?
Hold on. Right. Hi, good night.
You're quarreling with there.
Who are quarreling with? No, it's my son watching TV there. Right. So very good workshop. It was good to see Alan pull out his dog and give the newer members a basic startup class, a novice class with how you teach people to be engaged with the tug, holding on to the tug, the outing and stuff like that is really good, because I know we've been trying with the Zoom class, and a lot of the newer members trying really hard, but they don't have a visual of what they should be looking like. So it was really good that you all had this class for them to see what they should be aiming to, at least for this first stage. So I appreciate the workshop.
Yeah, foundation, is important.
All right, Kurt, ready to go. So over to you, Kurt.
You hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Now I'm going to use the float pole, and remember we are talking about the construction. Right? I normally use PVC hot water pipe. The string, not too long. The rod. Okay. Now, when we drive in, we're not moving like this. Okay. Not that the puppy or the dog will be chasing it and we're moving like this. So we're moving like this. What actually had to happen is that we flicking. So it will look like a prey. Okay, you see the movement?
Yeah.
So you're flicking.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to my dog, my puppy.
I wonder if you buy that hot water pipe by Bagwan Singh or by Peter Planet.
I would ask him what size of hot water pipe.
You don't want to buy the wrong pipe, you know.
Good. Right? Right? We say early wind and you shake. Good. We can walk down the
All right, that was good.
Good, yeah. Yes, that's it. Good boy, yeah. That's it. I can always look for the proper bite. Good. That's it. Good.
So you all notice how he didn't take the tension off in trying to get the adjustment for the bite, right? He felt tension, but he just held the toy. He changed the direction of the toy in terms of holding it straight across the dog, but he kept tension.
So I walk down. Yeah. Good. That's it. So you see, start driving hard of it, because you know he's going to win. Ah, yeah. Good. Ah, yeah. Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Good boy, yeah. Good. Ah, yeah. Good. Good. Ah, yeah. Yes. Good boy. That's it. Good boy. Ah, yeah. So that's it, folks.
All right. Excellent. Good.
Thanks, good. So you all saw a bit of when the puppy stopped moving. That was, I think that was pretty interesting.
Yes. That
So
was
Walter, that is a real thing you have with puppies. Some
that's
puppies
a
crazy,
real scenario. Yeah.
some of them, but what he did is that he waited it out. He kept the prey. The puppy still was watching at it. He left it stationary, and then he tried to help the puppy by giving it slight movement towards the dog. Then he did it a second time. It would encourage the puppy to get up, and as the puppy gets up, he make it move away from him again. Right? So that's how he allow the puppy to re-engage and keep going. That is no perfect puppy. It is a puppy in development. He's developing the puppy. These are the issues you deal with.
Yep.
Keep in mind, as you said, you don't just run the prey. You make the puppy want to commit, and then you move it at the very last second. Right? So you're making the prey almost hop along, move it. Right? So you could pull it on the ground, but you don't keep dragging it in a circle like a merry-go-round. You move, you allow the dog to commit, and then you move it. You allow the dog to commit again, and then you move it, and again, early win to start off.
Okay, guys.
That's correct. Anybody have any questions? I know it's a young puppy.
Good. Just now there, I was thanks again for the demonstration. Just now there, I was seeing your puppy, like he get, I don't want to say he get bored. How it is it get the puppy to get back interested just by moving around just by moving it around then.
Yes,
So,
you remember it's prey you're looking at. Now, apart from being active, normally, I don't know if you went to the lecture with the drive. The drive can be either active or passive. So what happened? I watched the dog and the dog was in passive prey drive. Now, sometimes stalking is a prey drive, is a passive prey drive. So a dog will be interested in the prey, but you'll be lying down watching. Okay, so that in that way, it's not that necessarily that he's uninterested. And even if he's uninterested, I make some noise, yeah, let's go, you know, kind of thing to bring him back in focus. But the prey, I continue to maneuver the prey, slow it down a little bit, so at least he will know, hey, if I just dive at it, I will win. And when he does that, then I start to increase the speed and that kind of thing. So you see that I slow it down, jump on him and that kind of thing, tease him a little bit, taunt him a little bit, and then he get back up there and start to work again.
All right, cool.
Kind of just explain that, Kurt. It was a good real moment to see.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else?
Okay. I ain't Courtney for the night, boy. Lisa asking all the questions.
Yeah.
Courtney.
Is the people with the puppies now, Harish?
Yeah, boy.
Courtney, we're not losing that dog, you know, between me and you. You see? See how I think she's shaping up to take over that dog from you.
That dog go already, boy. That dog go already.
You cry, Courtney, you cry.
That dog gone. That dog gone.
You're not getting another hip puppy there.
As far as I know, the dog could only have one handler.
I feel Lisa them go be Kim just now too, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Lisa go hit your Kim. Go ahead. All right. I just want
Right. Harish, Nigel, with the puppies, you all have any questions you want to ask?
Yeah, Nigel, so quiet, boy.
No, good, very good.
Nigel coming a little late.
Oh,
I think he said he forgot we had it today.
Oh no.
Nigel, what going on with you, boy?
No, Alan, I think it was important to be realistic with the puppies and not have the same expectations like the more experienced handlers.
Of course.
Hello? And it's a good
yeah.
reminder the challenges that we saw that Kurt had, and it's just good to be be real.
Yeah, that's exactly what you'll be facing. That's why I thought it was ideal that Kurt had a puppy that age to show you all. I mean, I have some puppies there, but they're only 5 weeks. But maybe in a couple of weeks I'll show you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is what you deal with. That's what you deal with all the time, and you have to work to suit.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, if you don't have any questions, you could just give the closing remarks. I think
Yeah.
we really did cover.
All right. Well, if no one else has any questions they want to ask, first of all, let me start off with thanking Alan and Kurt, especially Alan, for the presentation today. I being with these guys, well, they together a little longer than I have been with them. But being with these guys, I know the amount of work and the amount of passion they put in their work. And I'd like to thank them for the time that they took to do this, because it takes a lot of time and a lot of knowledge to do this. So as president of the club, I'd like to say on behalf of each and every one, we thank you very much for everything that you've done, and we continue to appreciate everything that you guys have been doing. As far as this work and everything is going, I think everybody, as you go along, you're getting a better appreciation of the work that we're doing, because you're going to be seeing the theory and the practical starting to finally mesh. So as some people would say, suddenly you'll realize that the light bulb just switch on, right? You're like you was in a dark room, and then boom, the light bulbs switch on, and you're starting to see everything, right? And that's gonna, for different people, happen at different times, right?
Right.
But that is going to happen once you stick with this. It is going to happen, and when that happens, your training is going to progress even better. I too especially liked when Kurt did his demo, what happened with his puppy, because I know a lot of people would meet something like that where the puppy gets disinterested, or apparently is disinterested or is distracted. But what I liked is that Kurt showed the patience, and then he used his experience to know that, okay, as soon as the puppy looks in my direction, I put it back the rag and pray, and get back the puppy's interest and put back the puppy in drive, you know? And in each part of your work that you're gonna be doing, you're gonna experience problems. I mean, that's natural. None of us have a perfect dog that from the time go, the dog just moving on from strength to strength. You're gonna have problems and you're gonna have issues. That's part of the course with this training, right? But I learned from Roger. Roger made a profound statement to me in training, and he said, every time you meet a problem or you meet an issue, use it as a teachable moment. And that's profound in this training, right? That when you see you reach a part of your training and there's a problem or apparent issue there, right? That is the moment to teach the dog, because once the dog understands what needs to be done from there on, the dog learns it, right? And that's why it's important for us to always remember that. So
Iran is like a crossroads here. I'm sorry to cut you, but it's like a crossroads.
Yeah.
It is actually a major point of learning for the dog.
Yeah.
It's like a crossroads. It's a major opportunity you have to teach your dog something, and it's something that they remember.
Correct. They'll never forget it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. That's exactly right. They never forget it. So you embrace, when things like that, you actually embrace it in training, you know, and say, aha, all right, this is something, yes, it's a problem, but I know once we could get over it and we can teach in this scenario, boy, we moving on from there, you know?
Yeah.
So with that, you know, I'd just like to say that we have a wonderful group. At one point in time, we had as much as I think 23 people when I looked at the number.
Yeah, so, 22, 23, yeah.
Yeah. So
everybody was on at some point, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, you know, I'm really glad that we had such a big group, and I trust that everybody leaves here enlightened. You know, we already have a lot of people already have the drive and the motivation to go there. Now we have a better enlightenment moving forward, you know, and always know, I mentioned this to Cody especially, always know that we as the senior trainers, Kurt, Alan, Roger, myself, Terran, Mark, right? Any one of us, you all feel comfortable in reaching out to with a problem, feel free to do that, because that's what we're here for, right? So that's always available, all right? I don't know if anybody else would like to say something.
You all hold on, before you go on, you all were correct about Lisa, you know, here, Lisa.
Yeah.
It was also very encouraging learning opportunity as a novice puppy handler myself. That's what Lisa said.
I haven't read it yet.
Already, right? A novice puppy handler myself. That's what she's talking about.
People crying now.
Everybody. Unlock them, boy. Unlock them.
Cotley boy. Cotley boy.
It's Courtney crying, boy.
Josh, I didn't hear Josh for the night.
Yeah, man, I hear everything was real good. Well, you see where I am right now. So I listen to all my Bluetooth and engage him a puppy.
That is a good part about
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, everything was good. It was good to know. A couple of things was good to hear a second time round. To reiterate it back to us. So all in all, it was good. A good session. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's
well, keep on passing off and on and saying, "Oh, you're still talking, oh, you're still on," But
well, like I say, Curtis say you could ring us dry and we're not holding back. And there's always so much to explain because even after I think I explain a lot of things, there are certain things Roger will sit in that he needs to reinforce based on a question somebody asked. And to be honest, that is what is required, for real learning to take place. Because sometimes you may have something in your mind that you're not 100% sure, but you may not ask. And you may be thinking, sometimes you may be thinking the wrong thing and not ask the question. And then, what prompts is that somebody trainer realize, that point, I feel I should stress on that point again. Even like when we have to clear the whole part about praise. Because like what you doing now, your dog love what you doing now. Why should you if you put on a nice ribeye and a bowl on the next side there, I don't think he's going to come to you, brother.
Nah, he coming.
I mean, if he was a dog that hungry and high to drive, he going to eat that steak first.
Yeah.
There's a steak there, brother.
One question.
Conflict we had early is important because it made me stress a point even more. And it was instructive to me that I had to stress that point even more, even though I was bringing it home in the end here. And I use the point as a fulcrum because what you doing there is really important. It is a fulcrum in the whole thing because this whole matrix could go the next direction.
Right.
It's really important, but I still need to tell me the first point about it not don't fool yourself and feel that is the ultimate payment.
Right. Just one question really, and this is arbitrary.
Go and retrieve something and he ain't gonna retrieve it.
Yeah. One question really. Is not really on what we did tonight, but like while playing, right, engaging and playing and things, they would, well, I kind of did it plenty with Buddy, and especially with bite inhibition with Buddy, and Buddy will rough play and whatnot on my hand, on my forearm, right? Like if, like a helper without a sleeve then, right? But just saying down and we rough playing. I have it on commando, right? So the command phase obviously is rough play, and he will just get up and we see start to know in my hand and we play. Push him back. I push him back and he come back at me, that kind of thing. With Jaeger still kind of hard at it, because with the puppy, he's still learning to not to bite hard, when not to bite hard, that kind of thing. But is that a good thing to start with Jaeger?
I find you should bite your hard all the time.
But that's a good, in general, it's a good thing
to be honest, I don't encourage my dog to bite me too much because I don't want my dog to see me as the actual toy per se. I want my dog to see me as a person that he enjoy playing with. But there's still some sort of object that we use to govern the game.
Right, okay.
I just don't like it. I guess it could work, especially if I use a command to it. Right. I prefer tell my dog up on me. I prefer tell my dog up and I set them and I play them. I prefer they know to jump on me and stay on my chest and I play them than the actual bite in my hand and all that. I don't encourage it because as a puppy, I try to break that out because I don't want the dog too fixated on, I don't know how to phrase it, but as a puppy, I want the dog focused on the toy.
Okay. Mountain.
Yeah, I don't like the mountain thing one, and then in the early stages, I wouldn't do that at all, biting on me. I will discourage it because I want the dog putting all its energy into the toy. Okay. And then I start to form the relationship where we have this whole matrix in a game. So we have a great relationship.
Okay.
So for me, it will be part of the whole process, really.
Okay.
All right. So you would say a good exercise.
All of that is fine.
So you'd say a good exercise is deflect the dog that bites in mountain plenty to the toy. Then. So you tell them no and then give them the toy.
Yeah. So I do encourage it, yeah. Okay, Harish. Good night. So Ajamu, you still Ajamu, you like what went on, you like how you appreciate how it was brought home, the original point that he was making?
Yeah. I comfortable with everything. Just my point wasn't to say that is no way a reward, because me personally, in my training, how I train my dogs, right? I look at levels of reward with the dog, right? For me, I also let my dog choose the toy that it like, because when it chooses the toy that it like is of greater value. So the same thing is levels of reward. Same thing with food. I mean, you might have a dog, some dogs might go crazy over kibble, some dogs will need a little more. I mean, it's not to make the dog lazy or lesser drive. Is the same thing with creation, quote unquote. I understand is not you can't tell a dog jump a E-frame and run 6 blinds and come back and pet the dog and think that is a reward for the dog. No way in hell. I mean, if it have a dog like that, that might be 1 in 10 million dogs, right? But for a dog, it is not a reward. At the point I wanted to make for people is that
to execute is not something that you create, that you could use to create precision.
What you're speaking of, praise?
Praise is not something you could use as a reward to execute for a dog to execute something in precision and speed and power.
No. That is not what Jamu is saying.
Yeah.
That is not what Jamu is saying.
No, I add into the point. I agree.
No, but I think Jamu was reinforcing that his understanding is that he never said, or he never meant to say, or is not trying to say that praise by itself can get a dog to do all what we want. He understands it's part and it's a combination with the use of the toys and the various other things.
Right, that is exactly.
But the value of it, because I can tell you, and you also supported the point, Alan. I can look at my dog, and when I'm finished training my dog, I can look at my dog and my dog will start to scream. I can put my dog at a serious drive immediately, right? And the dog will start acting literally, and I have to actually cap his drive by a strong command after that or whatever, right? So the thing about it is when you go out into the field and the judge is out there, it might be a very subtle thing. You might just say, boy, the judge can't hear that. But that can be causing the dog to maintain a very high drive, because you would have imprinted that behavior over time. So the dog is to understand that there's some great reward coming. But he has to maintain his composure and so on. So it is not something you can use by itself to train. But in training, when you're reflecting, that dog is depending a lot of times that good boy or thing or whatever it is, because that brings the understanding to the dog. The dog understands I am doing the correct thing.
That's why I call it a marker. That's the reason why I call it a marker.
Roger, is it that I like the explanation you give there, but is it also that more than the word praise, it's the relationship that and the bond that you build with the dog that's really the strength of the union?
It has everything to do with it. It has everything to do with it.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with it.
But you see, the most of the training we're doing after we finish all this food thing here, right, will be around the game, Aaron and others. So that is why it's so important to create a proper to build a foundation with the game in a particular way. That is why it's so important, because after we ain't using no food.
Yeah.
It's gonna be toy. So you need to build the foundation of our game from now.
Yeah.
So that when you throw that dumbbell for the first time for that dog, he may not grab it the right way, however, but he will pick it up and he'll come back into you and he can hold it in front and say, hey, now we play more.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to click. And you see, for me in teaching, I believe in creating clarity early with and making certain statements and then bringing it home after. So I plant the seed there, right? But then after, I'm going to show you how, why you will get that plant to look a particular way. It's because, you know, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is the behaviors that are required and so on. But yeah, Jamu, so I'm glad you was happy about it. And
Alan, I just want to ask one question. I know I don't always be part of the series of training that you're doing, and so I guess in your Richie point with the puppies or in the training we're talking about building drive and all of that. But like for me, right? I like to build an attitude. When I select a dog for training, I like to build an attitude with my puppy, right? So if I do not to do a session with my puppy, right? And I would talk to Joseph and Jonathan regularly about dog training and things. I like to build an attitude with my puppy. So when I go to the kennel to pick up my puppy to do a session, right? I looking to see a certain attitude from the puppy, jumping back in, and I'm rewarding everything. And then later on, I will start to put that behavior on cue. So I would just tell my puppy ready to work similar to how we do the protection. Right, I'll tell my dog ready to bite. You go down and you hear him barking and screaming, he's ready to come out and he feel. And it's the same thing I imprint with my obedience. I don't know if you'll cover that section of training, but for me, I feel, being here, I want to mention, because there's something I feel strong about when you're going into the obedience. You need to build the right attitude with the dog and always have them high in drive so that they work. They're always ready to work and they're always engaging and you're always pushing to do something to get your attention, to get a treat. And you always want to reach the point where you could put that behavior on cue. So like with my puppies, when I come out after a while, I could just tell my puppy ready and you'll see they start to bark and they start to bring focus. So I don't know if you cover that aspect of the training with your group as yet.
When I spoke about that in building the game, I don't know if you got that idea. The idea of when I talk about when you're building the game, you could say one thing to your dog. When I talk about the relationship, and the other thing we do too as well with the food work is that we always speak. You could ask anybody here about free shaping. The first thing with the food is that we come out, we do some free shaping. We also had the puppies building a little frustration in the kennel and rewarding the barking and the overzealous behavior. So the short answer is yes. It's just that we put it, we can't just tell people it's a feeling and an attitude, we try to do it in a more technical way because remember, these are very, very new handlers and this is their full exposure to training a dog with the intention of training it at this level. So we talk about free shaping where we don't rush the dog, let the dog come and push into you for food, push in your hand for food, get up in your face, and that's when you start to do acts or other behaviors. You don't force them into doing anything.
Because like for me right now, I have a puppy, right? And I would come out, I would teach it to go on the cone once or twice. And then I will come out and every time you watch the cone, I will click. You would start to walk to the cone, I will click. And you reach the point where you go around, you click. Now I want to reach the point with my puppy. I could come out, he could have a cone and he just constantly, trying to go to the cone, trying to do little behavior. Because what you will have, right? You want people, for me, I want people to have a dog that when they reach a certain level of training, the dog becomes intelligent and that the dog understands.
Proactive is the word. Proactive dog.
Proactive is the word, right? Thanks for the question. You want a proactive dog, right? So that when it comes out, is that you're not begging the dog to work, but you're building people need to understand that you need to build that from a puppy. You show the puppy to target a box once, and you come out and you let him do it. You look to the box. You put a foot. Hello?
Rest that short, we drilling that in.
I'm so happy to hear what you said there. No, well, maybe you don't be up at the club as much or whatever, but I always try to convey to people when I train my dog, certain plots and things is by the way for me. I try to train and imprint my dog to think. Because once my dog understands how to think out a problem, any problem, training actually becomes easy.
Easy.
And the distance you can go with the dog is limitless, really, right? I think I have successfully trained quite a few dogs in my time in training. So I don't think what I'm saying is in dispute. And I think that I've been able to assess other people or whatever it is. And generally, the whole concept of this reward-based training and motivational training and all that kind of thing is really something like that, except it can become too robotic and too monotonous at times, and sometimes you can lose that edge that the dogs that learn to think will always have over the dogs that they were well taught, they're doing everything, but you will see the difference of the dog and the handler on the field. It is a clear and distinct difference when this dog is thinking, as opposed to having done a million repetitions and he knows the command and he will do it because it has been done so many times, he will forever do it. But the dog that has been taught with this method of thinking, the speed, the precision, the ability to switch modalities is always distinct. Those are the dogs that impress me the most. I don't know if anybody will agree with what I'm saying.
I agree. But I guess that is the basic contribution I wanted to make. Just to ask, I mean, if Alan reiterated those points so that the dogs could be built out properly, that when they start to advance, that everything will be easy and it will be hard to get the dogs to do things that should be fairly simple to do. It comes down to building it out right from the start. That is all I wanted to add. But the session was very nice. It was very good. I mean, it was very informative. Some of the things I know, new things for me also was brought up. So I was glad to be invited to the session. So again, thanks.
Yeah, we appreciate that having you, Jam. We are person that very much building the sport on your end. For those who don't know, Jam, who is a executive member of the German Shepherd Breed Club. So they do some training as well, but I work his dog in protection. So I just thought it'd be like Jonathan as well too, who's a member of the breed club. I work their dogs. So I just thought, it'd be good to have you all on to share what we have and so that we move together, So good to have you all here. And if you want, we would send you the link for the video because it will go up on a YouTube channel that unlisted. So we could send you the direct link to it. So you could watch any part if you wish. I don't know, Jonathan might want to watch as well.
Yeah, you could send it and I could go through some of the videos. I'm big on watching videos. I just pull out what I want from videos.
Of course.
So,
hey, Alan, yeah, boy, I appreciate the link too. I don't feel I hear.
Yeah, I know. I watch all who here. I know all who here. I think Lisa just went and Stephen just went.
I just have a puppy that need to get fed, so.
Yeah.